Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 434. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V.
I told somebody just the other day in an email, a message to just some of our Patreon supporters, just notifying them of some of the Patreon changes that were going on. I said, we're 433 in, and I think I only have 500 or 600 more in me. So
yeah, well,
and at that point, I'm calling it quits.
Wow, man, I can't wait for your retirement.
Me too.
What will I do after that?
I don't know. Probably suffer and have tech support issues. That's my guess.
That's true. Well, there's going to be an official retainer that you're going to have to be on. I'll tell you that.
You're still going to come to my house on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, I mean, I need a setup. We're going to make it work. Well, welcome in, everyone. Again, 434. Tonight, special guest. He's going to be joining us in just a few moments.
I heard he's going to give us all the inside scoop on the new players coming to Discraft. He's naming names, social security numbers, payments,
contract details.
Yes. He's giving it all up tonight.
Yeah, he's going to give it all to us. And that, of course, is Paul Ulibarri. He's going to be joining us in just a few moments. I think besides all of the juicy deets, he's going to spill the tea, as the kids say. He's also going to talk about a few things he has going on. But we're going to get to the bottom of all these other contracts, including including the latest drops. We saw that there's going to be a new Paul Macbeth, 38-time champion disc drop or something coming out next year. All those things. We're going to talk about discs that he just dropped that are available to the world, other instructional things. So we got a lot going on. So welcome in, again, December 20th, 2022. And I think without further ado, we'll get right to him.
Let's bring him in.
Paul Ulibarri, everyone. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Been a long time, man. Excited to chat with you guys.
It just feels, I think it's probably been 2 to 3 months since we've checked in, but it does feel like such a long time, considering for the many of you that have been following us for a long time. You were a regular guest back when you had like the whole injury issue, and you'd come on all the time. You'd be our after show guest. You'd be on till 1, 2 in the morning out in Arizona or Portland or wherever you decided, California, wherever you decided to live that week.
Yeah, well, I mean, then you got all big time on us. He's like, oh, I'm going to get my own house. I'm going to settle down. I'm going to be captain. I'm going to get big time.
I just stayed healthy-ish on my legs so I could actually go out and tour a bit more. And no, I miss you guys for sure. It's good to be back. And of course, I watch your guys' stuff all the time. I'm a big supporter, so love being back on the show.
Well,
and I was going to say, and you did really well this year at the end of the tour. It really felt like you were heating up at the wrong time. Like you want to start a little sooner than that, but I mean, no harm in doing it at 2 of the biggest events of the year, but really, time to get that motor started a little sooner next year.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I mean, I dealt with a pretty bad injury to the shoulder mid-year. I mean, I missed cash at like 7 straight Elite Series tournaments, which I think before that I missed 8 total in my career. So it was a tough middle of the year for sure. But came home and got some rehab on that, did some other things, and was feeling good towards the end of the year. But like you said, a little too early for that. Let's take the momentum into 2023.
And let's start right there when you talk about coming home. And we've seen a lot of people, shifting and or even going as far as settling down. I don't want to just say maturing. That's one minor component, but growing up, adulting, settling down, planting roots, however you want to word that. You were one of the guys that kind of jumped on that philosophy. So since it's been a while, tell everybody where you're at and what it's been to get to where you are and how you decided that.
Yeah, so I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which about 35 minutes from downtown Charlotte. Great location for disc golf, and that's really where, I decided to make the big move. I've always liked Rock Hill, come here every year, so I was familiar with it. And then Charlotte being right there, property was cheaper, and so houses were cheaper. I could get a little land with the property, and it's a perfect place, man. Lots of disc golf everywhere. Pretty good weather. I mean, I'm pretty spoiled being from Arizona with that, You go out there for like Maricopa and stuff. It's beautiful, but pretty good weather year round. You can play and practice all the time. So yeah, I've been in this house for just over a year on the 15th.
Yeah. And a lot of people, well, first of all, anytime you go to Charlotte, whether it's you're on the train or the trolley coming in or whatever, you always hear people talking about it's one of the fastest growing cities, one of the fastest growing large cities. Yeah. And I think that's exciting to some degree. And then I think about well, what's nearby? Where else do you want to be if you don't want to be in the, we'll say, hustle and bustle of a Charlotte? So did Rock Hill just jump out at you as the obvious choice, or were you just saying, hey, I want to be in the Charlotte metro area, and Rock Hill just happened to be where you landed?
I would have preferred probably to be in Charlotte, honestly, but to get land there, I got 2 acres here with a decent sized house, and for the same amount, I would have gotten a lot with, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I got 4 bedrooms here with a garage and, a little area to where I can throw my disc, have the dogs run out in the yard and play and stuff. So, I mean, to get all that extra for a 35-minute drive to, go to work when I do my lessons and stuff in Charlotte or play tournaments or whatever was well worth it.
Now, I know this is kind of an unplanned side tangent real quick, but one of the last times we were talking to both you and your brother, we were talking about your gracious mother and family that had the devastation of the fire back at their house or your old house in Arizona. Any quick updates as to how that's going, what the kind of the game plan is, how Pat and the rest of the crew are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I just came from Thanksgiving like a month ago, and we stayed on the new. They built 2 studios right now, and they plan on building more, but they have two studios that they live in now. So we got one of the guest studios. So that they're rebuilding. I mean, it's a process for sure, but I mean, if you had ever been to their house before, it was beautiful. These 2 studios that they have now are absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, they're doing good. So for the people who helped out, I mean, that went a long ways, and will forever be indebted to them for sure.
Yeah, I know, all part of that, just completely resetting. I remember seeing and talking to your mom, and then seeing, the videos of, just the absolute destruction and everything, and having to essentially start over, as you're saying. I can't fathom, but here we are. And as you would expect, your mom and the rest of the crew all rising and coming out on top, which is exactly what we would expect.
My mom's the reason I'm on here. She asks every week, "Are you going to be on Smash tonight?" Just wondering. I mean, every week. So I was talking to her this last week, and she mentioned it again, and I'm like, I have to reach out to them. And so my mom's a big reason why I'm here Pat. For sure.
Yeah, she's good, and I'm hoping I'll get to see her in a couple of weeks. I'll be hopefully heading back for the Shelly Sharp and a couple of the other early season here events coming up. So good to hear. Now, as Johnny was just talking about, closing out 2022, you found yourself in uncharted territory this year, and the fact that you struggled the way you did, or you had the injury to the degree you did, which led to then struggling, not cashing, taking more time off than you've ever done. Where are you right now in terms of from 0 to 100%? Where do you put your physicality at the moment?
Tough to say. I mean, I haven't been playing a lot after. I think I went and I played the last big tournament that I played was in Virginia for the wraparound tournament for this year. I wanted to get
Lake
one of those
Marshall
Silver Series things. I played great there. I felt like my game towards the end of the year is as good as it's ever been, and I was playing well, and so I feel like it's right there. I mean, I'm healthy. I mean, that's all. I feel like has been the big issue with me for really the past decade is, can I stay healthy? And if I am, then I play good golf.
Well, just don't do anything dumb in the off season. Don't.
Yeah.
you got a house
well,
now.
Last year I did do dumb stuff. Now that it's almost 2023, Discraft won't get that mad at me. But I was coyote hunting and I snapped my ankle. Coyote hunting.
Did you step in a bear trap?
No, I fell off a log.
Oh, okay.
I fell off a log into a creek, snapped my ankle, had a minor fracture of the ankle. So going into the All-Star event, I was playing on a fractured ankle. Going in through all of Vegas, I was playing on a fractured ankle. And I think that's what ended up being the demise of the shoulders, because then I was compensating and throwing all arm. And so that got all out of whack. And so, yeah, we're not going hunting anymore. We're playing it safe this off season, let's say. And I really look forward to it.
You think so?
Yeah,
until you're like on mowing the lawn and you step in a rabbit hole or something dumb, and we're like, Jesus, Yuli, seriously.
Well, I have like a young soul, you know. I want to get out there and play basketball and play sports like I used to, and I've done a good job this off season of not doing any of that. Been playing more golf and playing traditional golf as well. That's a very low impact sport, which is awesome. And so, you know, I made a point to stay off of the Coyotes win every time. Let me tell you what.
Yeah, haven't you seen the cartoons?
Tenacious.
I mean,
They are tenacious, man.
No,
So
the
I won't
Coyote
be
always
doing that.
loses in the cartoons, Terry.
Yeah.
Roadrunner wins.
Not against me. I'm not a natural born hunter, I guess.
what is the most basic, mundane, boring 30-something-year-old white male thing that you do? Like, what is
Golf,
like?
he just said it.
Well, I know. I'm thinking around the house, or like, I mean, you take presumably you're taking care of pretty much everything, but like, what are you? You know, at the end of the day, you're like, huh, got that done, and it was like just something you weren't thinking about as a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old, and now like, yep, this is also just part of being an adult.
I would say mowing the lawn, but that's what I did when I was 12. So
yeah, exactly. Okay.
What do I do? I don't know. That's a great question. I'm
like
pretty busy.
emptying the leaves out of the gutter, or yeah, or raking leaves.
I hire people to do that, man.
See,
he's smart. He's not getting on a ladder.
Yeah,
you know.
No,
and by the way,
sounds dangerous.
Leaf guard, way to go, 100% every time.
Okay,
don't sweat it.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean the house. You know, I'm fortunate enough to be engaged to like the most beautiful, wonderful woman ever, and she takes care of the house. She's amazing. And so there's not a lot for me to do. I mean, she's up on all that stuff. Of course, not outside. I do the lawn and I make sure to do the leaves and hire somebody at least. Otherwise, I'd have to do it. So,
yeah.
But I'm lucky in that regard. I mean, we definitely built a good life over here.
Team captain doesn't have time for that. So let's segue into the last couple of days. We've seen now the second edition of the Captain's Raptor that's been released via our friends over at Discraft, of course. Break down some of the changes, what people should expect. How did it come about to have it changed up from last year's version?
Yeah, so I mean, just feedback from the fans and you know, the top pros that use it. I mean, it was a big hit last year. You know, like Beth bags it, Dickerson, all of the elite players love the disc, and so we just wanted to make it into a different plastic for a different feel. We also made it a little bit more domey, so it's going to have a little bit more glide. It's still just as stable, just has a little bit more glide, so you'll be able to fit that, like, you know, right next to it, maybe for a longer flex shot or something. But yeah, no, Discraft knocked it out of the park again. I mean, I get tagged in a couple hundred posts a day of people finally getting them in their hands and out there throwing. I've seen like 4 or 5 people ace with it, which is awesome. And so people are loving it, man. I'm stoked.
And for the foreseeable future, do we expect to see kind of that limited release each year? Is that something that you guys had arranged?
Yeah. So in my contract, you know, I signed a 5-year contract extension with them, and they give me that disc every year to release it one time a year. And however many we sell in that, you know, it's unlimited. So if we sell 200,000, we sell 200,000. If we sell 10,000, we sell 10,000. And so It's a good way to, you know, for me to market, you know, the crap out of it all year and hopefully have those top pros keep throwing it. And then, you know, hopefully we'll gain traction and that will be one of the more popular discs moving forward, which right now it seems to be trending in that direction.
I really like that that methodology of, you know, you want it, you buy it, you get it, period.
Yeah.
And then that's how many they make and you're done for the year.
Yep.
Just to the fact that we're not going to see, you know, in, we'll say, September or July, suddenly like, oh, we found 1,000 more Captain's Raptors or whatever. I really do like that. If you want it, you can get it. And that's the way it works. It's we went through too many years of slim pickings for golf discs over the last 2 or 3 that I really, it helps eliminate a lot of the scalping. It helps eliminate a lot. Just get it, man. Just buy one.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit, and I've said this in a few other places, that I kind of slept on it this year. But then I remembered, oh, no, I didn't last year. So here's my official public plea to everyone out there. I am willing to trade some from last year for somebody that might have too many from this year. If somehow you still have any in stock, I see Daddy Disc Golf out here on the board says he's stocked up with quite a few. So if there's somebody that's interested, I don't know what values look like right now, but if there's somebody that's interested, I have good trade bait because Yuli, I bought a lot of them last year. I mean, a lot. Like I think I should get a spare room in your house, kind of.
Make it the bathroom.
Yeah, I think I got a lot of them last year. So I'm happy to pay for your landscaping for the year or whatever I did with that purchase.
Yeah, but last year was crazy because it was the first time they really ever opened an unlimited amount. And at the time, I believe retailers were getting like whatever your deal was. Like you could only get 50 or whatever because they weren't making enough discs. And so once they opened it up to, I can buy a certain disc and I can buy as many as I want, a lot of people went and bought a lot. So there's a lot of that first run Captain's Raptor out there, which is awesome because, people like that first run. And so at least I know that they'll be able to find it for a while.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. Is a first run will always, for whatever reason, whether it is due to flight or design or colors or whatever the combination is, the first run always keep a special place in people's hearts no matter what. So I know I've got some good trade bait there, and I could swap out some of this year's for last year's if some people are up for it. All right, so that all went down in the last couple of days. Of course, like you said, you've been seeing the tags, a lot of people talking about it, and the discs are out there moving around. Did I also see another post of another big project you're working on? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, so we just launched the Power Disc Golf Academy, which is partnering with my friend David, who is a business guy. He does a lot of
entrepreneur
podcasts,
stuff?
What's that?
Entrepreneuring stuff, I think I heard. Something like that?
Yeah. And so he's in charge of, he's got a lot of students, so he can train people how to do podcasts or whatever. So he's got a lot of students across the country. So he has good ties with a lot of good videography, pardon me. And so perfect guy to team up with. This has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time, is to get an online tutorial class going. I started the Institute, which is in-person stuff, and I have my brother on there and Dan Hastings and a few people scattered across the country to where, that's a website people can go on and book an hour lesson or a 2-hour lesson with those guys and myself when my schedule allows it. But because my schedule is so tough, it's been hard for me to put in that time. A couple of years ago, I was able to do 40 lessons in the off season, and then this one came. And I've just been so strapped with time. So we did our pre-release a couple days ago. And that pre-release is $50 until December 31st. And so you can get in the door. After that, it's going to go up to $200. Now, this is just basically you'll have a lifetime access for $50 to all these videos that we're doing. And I'm talking about the highest quality tutorial stuff that you'll see, which I'm lucky to be involved with because he has all those connections. And I'm flying to Austin in January to film them all. And we plan on filming close to 100 videos with all across the map with form stuff, breaking down forms, drills. I mean, how my mind works, mental stuff, all the way down from A to Z. So big project. But we knocked it out of the park with the pre-release. We got a lot of support, which was awesome. And now, I look forward to filming all this content.
And I'm assuming that this is something that you're probably going to keep up on, right? Every off season, go out and knock them out. So, when I get through all the 100 level classes, I can get to Yuli 200, and,
exactly.
And move on from there. That's great.
Yeah. I just there's a lot of free stuff online. And I realize that there's a lot of YouTube stuff. In my opinion, it's not visually appealing. And I wanted to give something that somebody could go on and all the breakdowns, and it's the best camera work that you got. It's basically post-production versus live right now is pretty good, and live's catching up. But there's so much information. I wanted to give a little structure as well to where we can start you from the beginning and then have lessons all the way up to, the highest levels of, even if you're just stepping into the pro field, there'll be stuff for you on there as well.
So a couple of years ago, right here on the show, I believe we had Will Schusterek, and he had some very similar plans. And we've also, and even prior to that, of course, we've seen like Deep in the Game with Avery Jenkins and Discmania. Scott Stokely has done a number of different things. Back on VHS, folks, for those of you that know what a VHS tape is.
I think they got released on DVD at one point.
I think they did too. But so we've seen some of those. And then more recently was Will Schusterek as he came out with Disc Golf Instruction. And it's, I don't want to say it sounded eerily similar, but obviously it sounded somewhat similar in getting a great production crew. There was a lot of excitement around it. And we know that Will has now taken on a different role, not only with Prodigy, but then obviously had
fatherhood.
the addition to his family and fatherhood and some very serious complications with that. But I think that's maybe even to what Johnny was asking is, we often see, and this is generically speaking, we often see these really great ideas, but sometimes they fizzle. And I guess I ask, like, how can you challenge yourself to make sure that you're staying up with it, to providing that content? Because you're going to only get busier and more successful. Staying on top of this is going to be not only a huge feat, but it's also going to be tough to probably stay motivated for it, or not. I mean, how do you plan to stay on top of it?
Yeah, so I feel like the big difference with this is, with what Will Schusterek did, he was doing a lot of form breakdowns. That takes a lot of time, to where people are sending in their videos and then he's coaching them.
Okay.
That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to do that prior, right? And have a bunch of videos breaking down what normally would happen, like finding a lot of flaws that I see that amateurs do, and a lot of maybe mental things that amateurs do. And then also explaining it down to a T, breaking down form, good form and bad form, comparing them, and then giving a product like that, so that I'm not having to, have you send in and having 500 people send me a form thing and be like, hey, help me out. What the goal is to cover that stuff in those videos beforehand. And so, like you said, what if it fizzled out? That information will be there forever, right? And if somebody can get in there for the price of 2 discs right now, and then I help them improve 2 strokes, I mean, I feel like that's worth it. You know what I mean?
I think that they're going to get those 2 discs back in tournament winnings.
Or they won't lose 2 discs, and that's like winning too.
I mean, that's almost double.
Just simply, by simply not losing them because you're throwing better shots.
I mean, if you need some stand-ins for bad form, Terry and I will fly down to Austin. Just watch laugh at these guys here.
So does that kind of answer your question? I'm not trying to take on like this crazy project. What I'm trying to do is provide a great tutorial program that is already filmed, that you can go through and watch. And then I don't have to break down your form. Hopefully I do it in a way that you're able to help yourself by watching this, and there's a lot of this isn't like first time this is done. This is in every single sport. If you want to learn how to golf, there's thousands of videos you can pay for to do this, at high levels, or basketball. Even like we just saw a few years ago, I was watching TV, and Steph Curry had his shooting technique.
Yeah, his master class.
A lot of those. But
Fred McGriff taught me how to play baseball. I was throwing baseballs into trash cans.
Exactly. And did he come up with 3 new videos at each season?
He was before the internet, I think.
Yeah, I know. That's a really old joke for a lot of old people. No, but I mean, I think
didn't get it.
That's fine. That's fine. You're not quite as old as us. But no, I mean, I think that's great, because you're right. The form reviews take a lot of time, and it's constant and consistent, and every form's a little different. So you really need to get into it. If you can create a structural system or a classwork that someone can follow and get to a certain point or improve it, and then you've got a year to go through all 100 or whatever, how many ever videos you guys make, you can come back the next year after taking any sort of opinions, if for people that follow the class, that they can email you and be like, hey, I'd really love to know, I'd love to know how you throw grenades, thumbers, forehand, whatever you want to go, that you can work in the on season on creating additional content to come out for the next year. I like the idea that it's not that your time isn't constantly, we'll say, attacked by a lot of people, and that you can really take it chunks at a time.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be times where I get on and onto our website, and then we have people on, and I can break down forms for them right there. But that's just going to be a perk. That's not going to be an obligation for me. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also want to keep doing in-person lessons. I love in-person lessons as well. Like, that's one of my favorite things. So, I mean, I feel like this is just a good complement to, the institute that we already started. And now we'll have like an online program that people can get on, especially when I don't have time. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, real quick, while we continue to break it down, where can we find this? I want to put a link out there. I wanted to sign up, and I can't find the sign up. Where am I finding this?
PowerDGA.com.
PowerDGA.com.
Yep.
There you go.
All right. Learn to master the art of disc golf from one of the best to ever play the game. You can.
I didn't write that.
You can use that.
I was going to make a joke. I was going to you got Macbeth on here?
Ouch. Oh, harsh.
I didn't write it.
All right, I'm going to get started. How do I get on board with this? I want to quickly follow this up.
I was just going to ask if there's multiple levels, is it just a one, like...
I'm going to find out, mofo.
Is it instructional? Is it just 50 bucks and you get...
So this is a No, you sign up now, you get nothing until February. And that's why it's $50.
I want to deal on Captain Raptors.
After that, it's going to be $200 a year.
Okay.
So we're doing the pre-release. I'm flying it there in January, filming all the content, and then we're releasing it hopefully in February.
Whoa. Before I put this money in here, clarify again. So you just said it's $49.99, right?
Yep.
Or $50. That's a lifetime membership, right? Is that what you're saying, or is that annual?
Yep. That's a lifetime membership.
Oh my
that
gosh.
is forever.
And then if you don't get in at the $50, it's then going to be $200 a year, you said?
Yep.
All
right. You better get my money here in a minute.
Enter your 6-digit code. Terry, what's your 6-digit code?
You just want me to send you some of those Raptors. That's what's
No.
He's literally paying, getting into his PayPal right now.
Oh, I'm going to give you my money. I can't wait. Oh my gosh.
What prompted this, Yuli? I know you and I have talked for years, a little bit off and on about doing some of the things. Like, why now? What's the impetus?
What's the impetus? Why now? I mean, like I said, we started the institute, which is, my plan with that is to have coaches from all over the country on there and just have a hub to where if somebody wants to sign up for a lesson, they can go there. And then I want to have online presence as well, to where, I do a lot of stuff on my YouTube for free with Down the Fairways, but that's filming my phone. I want to give a good product out there to the people. And so I just feel like it's a perfect marriage for online to go with the institute, because coaching is what I love. It's what I want to do after I'm done playing. I have hopes to be able to coach world champions someday. Like, I really feel like that's something that the sport's missing. In every sport, people have coaches. In disc golf, we have ourselves, and that's it. Like, I give this example all the time. If, let's say, Paul Macbeth, if I went on the road with Paul Macbeth and it was my sole purpose to make Paul Macbeth better, I know for a fact I would. And it's not because I'm going to give him all this information of skill and this, but to have somebody keep you honest in your practice, to have somebody who makes sure you go to the gym, to have somebody who makes sure you're eating right. That's what a lot of those coaches do. Some of those people, they're so good, they don't have to do much. You know what I mean? You think there was a lot of people coaching Michael Jordan? Like, he did it his own way, but making sure that he was in the gym, maybe he was one of those people who was like, no, I'm going every day, and he kept himself accountable. But most kids, especially kids, they might have a lot of talent, but they don't keep themselves accountable because there's a lot of fun things to do out there. You know what I mean? And so I really feel like that's one of the things that is missing right now is there's no coaches.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing, like you said, there's a very small subset of people that are diving into this more and more frequently. And, I know even to this day, obviously, Scott Stokely being one of them, yourself, Dan Hastings, and this small collection I think Philip Bartholomew works with Stokely as well. I know he's in that general area. It feels like that's where we're seeing, but that's still when you think of the people that are out there most frequently. Now, obviously, you always have your course pros, and you could walk up to Philo just about anywhere, and he's going to give you a quick pointer or tip, and he offers some lessons as well. But we don't have a lot of people that are solely focused or really, really honed in on that one specific component of our game, which is is just the overall coaching of it. So. Yeah, I love it. Well, I am signed up, Yuli. I don't know if I'm member number 1, but it says you're in. Click the button to get started. I mean, I don't see any videos. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm officially in. And if I'm not a world champ, like I'll even say Masters world champ, I'll be realistic. If I'm not a Masters world champ in like 2 years, I might come after you for a refund.
Technically, you are a global.
Hey man, that gets you access to our Facebook page too. We just got done doing a huge giveaway today, so you barely missed it. But we're doing I think 5 or 6 giveaways for a stack of discs, and a couple of those are the Raptors you're looking for. So make sure you get in there. Put your name in there. Some great chats going on already. Some good interaction. I just did a live on that Facebook group a couple days ago, and so the only way you get in is by being a member of the Academy.
Well, I am a member. So, okay. So you were also, yeah, of course. If I recall, I signed up for Will's as well. And
I did too.
I love the idea of supporting, what you guys are doing. I love the idea. Obviously, if you're frugal like me, you get in now so that you forever have access to it. That I think that sounds like a good deal as well. So that sounds exciting.
It really is a good deal, man.
So speaking of your YouTube and some of your content, did I see what are you putting out? I mean, obviously Vlogmas and more frequent postings come as a part of the off-season routine for our players.
Sure.
Yourself, Casey White, Simon, not so much this year, Eagle, not so much this year, but in general, we're seeing a lot of our players ramp it up with off-season content. What's been your game plan and how long is that going to go for?
So one of the things was my YouTube channel went dead for about 5 months. My editor had some stuff go on, so I didn't have an editor. I don't edit. Don't know how really. I did a little bit when I first started, but I found an editor kind of right away. So I have to do it all myself. So I was really mad that the YouTube channel, I left it neglected for that long. And I felt like Vlogmas was a perfect time to get it reamped again. And so that's kind of why I got in on it, is to put a lot of content out there kind of right away since I didn't have any. Vlogmas has been a nightmare, honestly. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work.
Are you committed to daily? Like a daily Vlogmas?
I
Okay.
posted everything every day after this. I just got back from putting league and I filmed a little vlog, probably my worst one. So
okay.
This is
looking forward to that.
Go check it out.
Man, you're really selling it.
Yeah, but I have some good stuff on there. I mean, I got anything from doubles rounds to Ezra Aderhold came to Charlotte for a little bit, and he really helped me out with it to where we got a lot of content out there. So I really want to shout out him for being awesome and doing that for me, because without him, I mean, it would have been even worse. And then, I also wanted to get some of my daily life, what I do. So that there's one episode of me playing Fortnite on there, going to the golf course, just hanging out with buddies, doing some stuff in my game room. So there's a good variety on there for Vlogmas for sure, but please don't watch the one tonight. It's going to be
bad. Watch it and comment it, everybody. Let them know how great it is.
Yes, top level stuff. Now, I think someone posted earlier saying that you might have been their doubles partner for the putting league or competition tonight.
Yes, yes, Aaron.
And you're home already? Is that a good or a bad sign? That you're already
bad sign.
Okay.
Listen.
You can blame Aaron.
Charlotte's got a lot of good putters, man. Charlotte's got a lot of good putters. We went 3-2, but tonight it was crazy because there was 102 people at putting league. 102.
And
that's a lot.
Is it random draw putting partners then?
Yeah.
And I was at
Random
one
draw.
probably 4 or 5 years ago because it was right around the time of USDGC. Was it at one of the breweries with a couple of food carts?
Lenny Boy Brewery is the name of it.
Okay. And is that the one it's been at for a few years now, or is it shifted around?
I think it's the only one. I don't want to say it's the only. I'm pretty sure it's been there every year.
Okay.
I want to say
102 people, and I know there's going to be a vlog for this, but 102 people, like, what is that? Just describe, because some people are like, hey, we can't get more than 9 people at our local putting league. Explain it.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I mean, it's an awesome experience. There's just disc golfers everywhere, 102 of them. They run a great league. I mean, they have it down to a T to where they have a big monitor. They have all your opponents up there on a big monitor to where you can know exactly when you're supposed to go. They have, I mean, how many stations do they? I have no idea how many stations, but they get through it and you're done. Typically, Germ told me this because I'm like, hey, Germ, I'm not coming if I can't get out of there by 9. And he's like, oh, you'll be done by 9. 102 people. I guarantee they're still playing.
Wow.
Okay. So lucky that I got out of it.
I was just going to say, we appreciate you not performing your best so that you could be here on the show. And that's really what you were doing. It might have been at Aaron's apparel but you're here. So we appreciate that.
Aaron made the winning putt twice. So we went 3 and 2. You had to go 4 and 1. So it was a tough night. To just get into a playoff to go to, I think the top 8 teams move on. And so you had to go 4 and 1 to just get in a playoff to get 8th or something like that. So there was a lot of 5 and 0 teams. And so it works like this. You putt 1. If you make it, that's 1 point. If you make 2, that's 3 points, and you play to 11. It's kind of like horseshoes. Your partner's over there. You're here. You're going against the guy. And then you just do that until 11 and you're done. But awesome atmosphere. I mean, they got a bunch of people running this show, and they do an amazing job. Plus, it's at a brewery, so you got food. You got drinks, of course, so people are just having a good time talking disc. I mean, it was wild tonight. Plus, they had a gift exchange. So I went there. I didn't have my gift wrapped, of course, so I had to go over there and wrap it up. I was telling the guy, I'm like, my mom's going to kill me if she ever sees this wrapping job, because it was, it was one of those bad folds and then just put it out there. But so they're doing good stuff, man.
Yeah. And that's all the Charlotte club, right? Or is that, yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. I just
like, think about how big the scene is here. If you got 102 people showing up for a putting league, I mean, that's bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Again, I was there a few years ago. It was extra big due to the USDGC, influx. Yep. But it's such an awesome atmosphere, and it really, and that was pre-COVID, and it really, just kind of drove home the point to the rest. I think a lot of people of like, hey, come winter months in some of these less than amazing places like Wisconsin, come winter months, like find a bar, find a bowling alley, find a place. It might not be an open air brewery, but find somewhere that's got a little bit of space and host a putting league of sorts. And I know Marksman, with Dynamic Discs has really jumped into being a specific style of league. That's a great opportunity as well. We've had a few in Milwaukee. It's pretty awesome.
Is there going to be one in Milwaukee this year? I haven't heard anything.
I know starting in just a few weeks, MIDI, who I'm wearing their shirt, they're doing a Sunday night league. It's kind of their own format, but it's at Broken Bat right by your work.
Perfect. Across the street from my work.
Every Sunday, I think for like 8 or 10 weeks from 3 to 6. So again, a different style, but you're indoors. It can be where it's 18 degrees like it is right now, and come on indoors to a bar, and they've got a really great setup here in the Milwaukee area. So that's just one of many that's going on. So wow.
Putting leagues are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I feel like there is. Well, of course, everyone goes into it with a different agenda, but I feel like they can be just as much social as they can be truly helpful to your game. Either way, you're putting under a little bit of pressure, and it forces you to get out every week and do something with your discs. When in a place like Wisconsin, you may otherwise kind of steer away from going outside and playing if you're not a big winter golfer. This gives you like that thing to look forward to.
Oh, absolutely. When I was injured with the torn ACL, we had a nice putting league in Seattle, and I looked forward to it every week because it was the only thing I could do, to compete was putting league, and it was an absolute blast. I'll never forget that. But they do a great job over there, man. Super stoked for them.
Yeah, the no shock. We all of course, with the Disc Golf Pro Tour wrapping up in Charlotte these last few years for the Tour Championship, and then all the conversation that goes about, and that's kind of how I started this conversation, is about where you landed, where you decided you wanted to set up or settle down, and how Charlotte and the Charlotte area, it feels like it's on every disc golfer's list to at least go check out. Right now, are there other golfers that have? I mean, obviously, Big Germ had his roots there and such, but is there other golfers that are still contemplating? Wasn't Kevin Jones at one point looking in that area? I know Paige did at one point, right?
Kevin lives in Charlotte. Yeah.
Okay.
He bought a house.
So,
a lot of good golfers here.
Haley King settled down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of good golfers here. I mean, it's the place to be, and it was cool because this last Sunday, there was a Pittsburgh Steelers game that came to town. And that's why I had to wear the jersey to the putting league because it was like a small flex,
Yeah.
So I had a lot of angry putters. That's why I lost. They dug deep.
I mean, I guess that can play either way. You either put him into a little tizzy or yeah. Well, we can't let you go without talking about your captain's duties, your team manager duty, whatever you're doing these days, because it is that season. We're seeing players that are dropping their current sponsors or being dropped, depending on who you ask and who you talk to. What's on the agenda for Discraft? Like, and I guess I'll start
big things.
I guess I'll start with you.
Mind-blowing things, man.
I'll start with you. How much involvement do you have with it? Like, are you out there, quote unquote, recruiting? Are you out there talking them up? Are you how much does Bob do versus what you do? Like, what are the difference in roles?
So Bob's the manager. So he's a team manager. He does all that stuff. I'm the captain. So unfortunately, if we're moving in different directions, I'm the guy who gives that call. So Bob makes me do the dirty work. You know what I mean? No. I do some recruiting for sure, which I love doing. I mean, Discraft is so amazing. I want all my close friends to be on the team. I mean, they've treated me so well that if you are a great player, this is the company to be. I truly believe that because it's not just given, you earn it, and then you'll see the rewards. You know what I mean? They, for example, like when I left Prodigy, I said, hey, I don't want a different contract from you guys. I want the same thing I was getting from Prodigy for the past 6 years. I got the same thing. And I said, I want the same thing. I don't want anything else. Sign me to a 3-year contract. I'll be the team captain. But after that 3 years, if I work my butt off, I want a good contract, because I kind of felt like the sport was getting there. And so for 3 more years, I made the same thing that I made when I went from Prodigy. And sure enough, they were the first people to hook it up, and they gave me a great contract. So I know from personal experience, you go there and you put in work and you put in positive work, you get rewarded. And that's what I want from my friends.
And speaking to just that, what advice do you give others? Because I'm sure some people are teetering, and we're seeing people leave companies. We're seeing a few people get picked up and so on and so forth. But what advice, either would you either give generically or to anyone specifically when they're looking at either different companies to go to or what they should be looking for in a sponsor? What are some of the things that you usually would say to someone in that position?
I mean, I feel like it's pretty easy. My point is, if you're lazy, then go to someone who's just going to pay you now. But if you want to work hard, there's a future. There's a big future, and that's. I'm not saying that's not with every company, because that is with every single company as well. But I've had the personal experience of watching it happen for me and other players at Discraft, and so that's what I say. I say bet on yourself. That's the biggest thing. Like, sure, you might not make a lot, maybe the first year. But if you prove that you're worth it and that you can push product with your brand and you can learn to brand yourself be a great representative of the sport, play well, there's a big time career waiting for you.
Whether it's with Discraft or the other manufacturers, you've got your
Mhm.
you've got your ear on the train tracks. You know what's going on.
Sure.
Are you seeing any sort of trends in sponsorship these days? Like, I feel like we kind of are maybe past the ginormous contract period
Yeah.
of our sport. At least maybe we've peaked a little bit and we're coming down. Are you seeing any other sort of trends coming? Are we starting to shed mid-level players? I mean, are those big contracts coming to roost for some of the manufacturers? Like, what do you see as the future of sponsorship right now? I mean, do we have mid-level
That's a
players
great
that should be sponsored?
That's a great question. I feel like yes, in a way, but the sport has to move in that direction at some point. You're gonna have like underground team. I feel like is super important to have that, and that's you look in traditional golf, and they have that. They have a lower tier of sponsorship, but the top guys in the world, there's gonna be so many of them very soon, and so how are you gonna be able to, keep giving these big contracts out? Well, I feel like the answer is simple. Can that player put their name on a disc and sell 1,000,000 of them? Because then it's worth it, right? Or sell however much money they need to accumulate that $1,000,000 contract. Is that player worth it? That's really what it comes down to, you know? And so as long as the supplier has the product to put somebody's name on, and then they can make the money back and make them, obviously the company wants to make money, then it's a win-win situation. And that's another reason why I feel like a lot of people have a tough time with the social media aspect and stuff. Well, guess what? If you're not a world champion and you're not like Ricky Wysocki and Paul McBeth winning multiple world titles in all the elite series, how are you going to be able to go to a company and say I'm worth $1,000,000? You're not. But if you can prove that you put your stamp on something and they sell that product just the same as they sell Paul's or Ricky, which isn't possible right now in the sport. But if you can do that, there is a pathway to that.
Have you been surprised by any either additions or drops or anything that you've been seeing in this offseason? At any point have you saw a player make an announcement one way or another and you're like, huh, I didn't see that coming, or wow, that's crazy? Has there been any of those for you?
Not really. I mean, at this point, we saw a lot of moving and shaking last year, with a lot of players. And I think that's just going to be the way that it is moving forward. There's going to be people moving here, moving there. People are looking for the dollar bill, man. And when if they can leave some place and go get it somewhere else, then that's what they're going to do. I mean, as an independent contractor, that's an obligation to yourself.
Do you feel now, and I think you're in a really unique position for this question,
Mhm.
do you feel, knowing that you represent and talk to Discraft in the way you do as a captain, but then also you as a player, do you feel that players are asking too much, or that sponsors aren't giving out enough? So you just got done saying, and what I mean by that is, you just got done saying that people have to look for that dollar. My question is, do you feel, this is very generic, this isn't just Discraft, do you feel like sponsors are still a little stingy with their dollars, or do you feel like some players are just too I don't want to say greedy, but they're just simply asking for too much? They're overvaluing themselves. Do you feel like there's one or the other?
It's a tough question, Terry, because let's just say player A is comparing himself to Paul McBeth, okay? And player A has won a few tournaments before in like the last couple years. What's 10% of what his contract is? And then they look at themselves and they go, well, I feel like I'm that guy. I feel like I deserve that. So I feel like, of course, there's people who are overplaying their hand. Absolutely. That's always going to happen. I mean, like for myself, like I've always overplayed my hand. I've always thought that I was worth the most out of anybody. That's just my mindset. But I'm also not afraid to put in the work and work hard. Now, as far as the manufacturing goes, it's going to be both sides. You know, you're going to have that same answer, I feel like, from, yes, of course, there's people who are playing their hand. And yes, there's going to be sponsors who aren't willing to pay whatever that is. But on the flip side, there is proof that if you sell enough product, you can make $1 million a year. That's the peak right now in the game. And so now it's about the companies shuffling, the players shuffling to try to get something close to that, you know? And so it's the player's obligation to be like, no, I'm 10% of that. I want 100 grand a year or whatever that. I hope that's close to the 10%.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You nailed it.
You get what I'm saying though?
Yeah, you mapped it out. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think every single time, and this includes today, we saw a couple more, in this case, FPO women leave. Immediately, understandably, the internet kind of goes ablaze, and you'll see a very divided internet. Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
But some will say, oh my God, so-and-so's not paying them enough. They should pay whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. You need to keep that person. That's crazy that they let him go. And then other people are saying, hey, wait a minute. You have no idea what they were asking for. You can't just ask for a blank check. They're not worth, you know, probably half as much as what they asked for. And clearly there's only a handful of people in the world that know what the real situation is. But that's where I just wonder, because we've seen these big contracts, because there's so many things that play into it, I wonder how many players are just unrealistically knocking on Discraft or Innova or whomever, knocking on the door saying, yeah, I'd like to redo. Here's what I think I'm now worth. And I wonder how many of those are just way out of whack.
I mean, the manufacturers have the numbers. They can flat out look and say, you know, you are selling this much product.
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about it is, of course, they're overplaying their hand, but at the end of the day, the manufacturers can go, well, this is what you sold. Now, I only know what Discraft does. I don't know how the other teams work. But you could come into a problem where they're not making enough product for you to sell as well. And so the numbers could be skewed. I'm not sure how that works over there, but at Discraft, they make a lot of product. And so if you're selling a lot of product and it sells, the big thing is too, does it sell better with your name on it?
I was just going to say that. I feel like that's such a slippery slope, because if you, and I'll be the first to admit it, I've never been shy that I'm a Comet. I love throwing a Comet. The Comet is great of as a disc, as we all know that it really is, because we're smart golfers. We know the Comet is truly a great disc, and I'll say that till I die. It's not hot or cool or sexy or outselling a lot of other discs that Discraft makes. So just aligning yourself or putting your name on the wrong disc, we all know, wrong, I'll use in air quotes, but that's tough too, isn't it?
But that kind of goes into what I'm saying with you. Are you worth it to where they can put your name on that disc and you can sell product? Or do you want to bet on yourself, or do you want to go the safe route? If you put Paul McBeth's name tomorrow on the Comet, how many is he going to sell? He's going to sell enough to get money back.
Like 4.
Right? All of them. You get what I mean? And that's where I feel like this is an easy answer. Can your name go on a disc, and can it sell? And if it can, because you have so many fans out there and you win so many tournaments and you're on social media as much as you are, will that sell better than if it was just sitting on the shelf? And that's what the manufacturers, I feel like, are going through right now. Okay, so like I said, player B, are you going to sell more than Paul McBeth? Then you're never going to get the $1 million contract. It's that simple.
And as we know, every manufacturer is different. What you sell, I mean, let's say you sell 50,000 discs. Player A sells 50,000 discs with Discraft. Discraft looks at it and goes, okay, cool. But you go to Dynamic Discs, and 50,000 might be a totally different look for them. Like, oh, you sell 50,000 discs? Oh, amazing. We're bringing you on. And again, I'm just throwing
just
random manufacturers.
Numbers,
I'm just making up numbers. But like you know, what Discraft is looking at for a number might be different than what Clash or Lone Star or you know, any of our other sponsors. So every manufacturer is probably a little different, because we are seeing, and I think we will continue to see, some of the players who are maybe, you know, we'll call them like second tier players at a lot of the big manufacturers probably become first-tier players at smaller manufacturers this offseason. I mean, we know what's coming.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, as an independent contractor, that's your obligation is to go, get yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
you can be a big fish in a smaller pond.
Yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of players out there who focus on playing. Okay, we're at a weird spot in the sport. They focus on playing, and that's it. That's great. I did that for 10 years. I didn't make a penny. It was a different generation, of course. There wasn't a lot of pennies to be made.
Yeah.
But if you cannot sell product, it doesn't matter how many tournaments you win. Then you should probably have a really good bonus structure.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to throw his name out there, I think we kind of saw that with Kelvin for a few years. Phenomenal player, zero social media presence. And even he's seeing the light by working with different social media companies, and I know he's got brand people working now to help push Kelvin. Not just the fact that he's going to win 2 or 3 Elite Series every year, and he's going to take top 5s at most of the events. If you don't have some sort of push, being a great player can only get you so far. And that might be far enough for some people. Like Innovo might look at it and be like, cool, you're a great player. We're not going to even push your social media. We want this type of player on our team versus, again, like another manufacturer that says, yeah, being a great player isn't enough for us. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm not and I'm not saying winning doesn't bring value. That brings the most value. Winning makes you the most popular, period. That's the best thing you can do.
It's because everybody sees you. Like,
yes,
if you're winning, it's because you're on featured cards. You're on featured post-production. You're on the live all the time. Your face is out there whether you like it or not. That immediately is almost as good as a decent social media presence. You're just there.
Yeah, isn't there a quote somewhere that says winning solves all problems or something like that? I just made that up.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that let's say the top 2 contracts we know about, Paul and Ricky, look at their social media presence. It's amazing too. They didn't just get their money and stop doing that stuff. You get what I mean? Like it's a mindset that goes beyond that. And I don't think that other people get that, because not only are they the best players, but they also have some of the best social media presence in the game because they know the value of it. They know the value of the fans that they get.
And it's a little bit easier when you're making a crap ton of money to hire someone to help you with that.
Yes,
I mean,
it is
a little chicken and egg here.
It is. It's a little chicken and egg because if we saw, again, I'll use Kelvin. Kelvin started winning money, and he can pay for a social media company. You take a smaller player like, I'm just gonna throw Gannon Burr out there because he's kind of the hot thing right now. Gannon Burr probably can't afford a social media manager yet. He's probably got to rely on Prodigy's social media manager to help push him, and he can start to get that built up. But the reason why Ricky and Paul have some of the best social media is because they can dedicate. They I don't think Paul is worrying necessarily about editing videos ever. And you either. Paul. No Paul is worrying about editing videos. So it's not a Paul thing to do.
Not a Logan Paul thing either. He's got that taken care of.
Yeah, I believe they all do. So I get it. Like but you're right. They dedicate whatever portion they can to social media. Like, Paul's putting out different blogs and little things for himself.
Just because he's paying for it doesn't mean that that's not work too. Because he's
100%.
That's a sacrifice in itself. He's making an effort to make sure that that's done, because you don't have to do it. You really don't at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah. Update, folks. According to the Googles, winning solves everything is apparently something Tiger Woods said. So if I'm thinking of, I'm aligning myself with the old Tiger.
Sure, that worked out well for him.
yeah, I suppose. him and his terrible career. Is that what you're saying? It
solved everything up until a point.
Well,
it doesn't necessarily solve your social issues.
There's only so much you can do. The game of golf gets you so far.
It was cool watching him and his son get a chance to play. I can't wait till we get disc golf stuff like that.
So cool.
Honestly, right? Like,
it was.
Where's
all your kids?
Yeah.
Where are your kids? Iowa, Ohio.
No, come on, Yuli. We need like 5 more little Yulis running around.
Calm down.
All right. Well, speaking of kids,
he's engaged now, so you got to be very quiet.
Yeah.
Speaking of kids, wear a Steelers jersey and blink once if AB is coming to Discraft.
I think he's froze.
Oh, froze.
I think his video froze.
Wow. Okay. And to be fair,
I honestly don't have any of that information.
Oh,
Everything
BS! You can lie all you
You're
want.
full of it. You know what's happening. Whether it's coming.
When it comes to AB, you know. Don't even try to BS us. Don't even try. Like, of all the players that have shifted or will be and are doing things, your tie to Anthony Barella and the family and Arizona and everything else, and your other teammates like Adam Hammis, who's one of AB's best friends. I could go on and on.
His protege.
Yeah, don't even try and BS us. You can sit there with a nice straight face. That's cute, but we know what we know. So.
Which is nothing official. We're gonna look like it's gonna look real dumb in about 2 weeks when it's
well, I'm saying he knows.
AB goes to Castaplas.
I think AB's going to Discraft, but we know he does know wherever he's going. Yeah. So we'll just say that.
I have no clue. I honestly don't.
Shut up. We should just cut him off now for lying to us.
I love AB and I wish him the best.
Where's my refund? I need to refund my institute money. This guy lies to me. I don't.
Did you see the rounds that he posted the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, they're all right. I mean, is that
1100?
1075 for 2 weeks? Yeah.
Is that just the middle finger to previous? I mean, hear me out for a moment.
No. That is Arizona golf. That is AB being comfortable. That is AB knowing what he's doing. He has zero pressure on him because we all know that the problem. I'm gonna throw this in quotes, so don't be offended. The problem with AB is the pressure. He hasn't proven that he can get through a full lead round. Like, he always finds a way to have one bad round, and it's usually when he's on camera.
Sounds like it's an Arizona thing, honestly.
Sorry, Yuli.
I'll throw that one my way.
I mean,
that's your fault.
I look for AB to do big things. He's the most, and I've said this before. He has the highest ceiling that we have in the game right now. He has the highest ceiling. Whether he reaches it, I don't know. But there is nobody who has a higher ceiling than that kid.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I just think AB, if he can get, and we have never seen him do a full year of touring either.
This was the closest.
This was the closest.
Yeah,
after
and he's still doing school and
he's
has a lady friend,
now, right?
Yeah, and all that other stuff. No, I don't.
Is he done? Did he graduate, or is he got another year in him?
I don't think.
I'm not sure. Don't talk to him very often.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Nonetheless, so my point, what I was saying earlier, he won, I think, the last two events. Somebody else even said on the board, won the last two events in Arizona, averaged like 1080 golf, and then says, hey, it's bittersweet, I'm leaving Innova. Maria Oliva recently won, I think, her last event, and then said, oh yeah, by the way, peace out, I'm leaving Innova. And this is to me nothing more than sheer coincidence, I believe, in these scenarios. But it's just kind of interesting to see a few of these people have this big win and then have a win and then say they're done.
I mean, you're right. It's coincidence. These are some of our top players. They're playing local B tier events, maybe an A tier event, where they're probably going to be the best player there. It just happens to be at the end of the year. Like, adios. Like, cool, I won.
He beat some good players. I mean, Drew was in the field. Drew's a damn good player.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But
and he beat him by 17. So
yes. And I'll say that about AB. Like, when the pressure's, so to speak, off, when the light isn't the brightest, and he's so familiar with those courses in that area. Like, he just that he's so comfortable that when AB is comfortable, he's the most dangerous player in the world. That's how I feel. Like, he will put down or throw or roll or flick or like, when he's comfortable, all bets are off with AB. So
yeah,
get that guy a soft pillow at Discraft.
All right. So what is the next sanctioned competitive event we're going to see out of you?
I run a tournament every year in Idaho called
Mm-hmm.
the Ulibarri Safari. And that'll be my first tournament of the year. So I think we're running it as a B tier this year in Boise, Idaho. And that'll be my first one. That's a couple weeks before Vegas.
Are you playing in the All-Star event this year? Do you know or not? I haven't paid much attention.
I missed cash at 7 straight tournaments.
Ouch.
Wasn't there like a fan vote or some crap? I don't know.
I wasn't even on the fan vote. I missed cash at 7 straight tournaments.
I don't know.
He didn't make it out of
They
the
wanted to
primaries,
make
all
sure that
right?
I didn't get it.
Dude,
How awful would
I don't
that
pay
be?
attention.
Johnny V is just.
I don't pay attention to that shit.
I was out putting salt on the road tonight for the snowstorm. Johnny V's just rubbing it in your eyes right now and all over your wounds. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I deserve it, man.
Some people can get in on name alone. Let me just say, you'd be one of those guys.
Well, I did last year.
See, I'm saying.
So they made sure I didn't go on the ballot.
They had lower standards last year. So.
All right, and
I had to go limp around the course with a freaking coyote foot. It was horrible.
Coyote foot.
And am I correct in saying we also didn't see you on the Shelley Sharp registration? As I think I'm looking into trying to film some of the frisbees being thrown over there. We're not going to see you at that. Shelley Sharp?
I'm going to be January's all booked up, man. I have to go do a lot of team stuff with Discraft for a couple weeks in Florida, and then straight from there to Austin to film for the Academy. So I got a lot of lessons at the end of January. Also, the foundation is doing great things. We just got a huge sponsorship donation from Discraft. And they gave us a lot of these black midnight zones with a nice little Yuli Foundation logo on there. So if you haven't checked those out, go to the website and check it out, because I think you can donate $100, get the disc, and it goes as a donation to the foundation. We're giving away scholarships this year for kids, and we're making a nice donation to the Collegiate Nationals again, which last year we gave, I think, $8,000 to $4,000 to both the FPO and the MPO winner. So we got good things going on over at the I don't want to overlook that, because that's my little baby.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for you. I mean, that was like one of that's your foundation. That's a thing.
Yeah,
you need.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, since I put the wrong link in here, I'll put the correct link in the chat. Which is Yuli.Foundation is where you can find it. And I just put it in the chat so people can find it there as well. Where it has information about donating more, learning more, mailing lists, all sorts of things. All the information can be found out there right now. Take action. You can click on a button and stuff.
Yeah, so huge thank you to Discraft for donating that. That's gonna go a long ways in helping kids get through school, man.
And I know it's probably tough to decipher and or lobby for it, but right now we see multiple foundations and great causes that people can be a part of. Of course, you think of Ricky Wysocki, you think of Paul McBeth, we think of your foundation, and then even I'll say more generically for disc golf, you think of Uplay, you think of Edge. Those are a couple more that come to mind right off the top of my head. Is it? What does it say about our sport? Maybe is a better question. When we have these options and all of these opportunities for people to support disc golf at a nonprofit level.
Yeah, I mean, it's growing. It's awesome to see. I mean, I really enjoy, what Macbeth is doing over there, what Ricky's doing with his foundation, Uplay. Watching those videos is freaking amazing. To see what these people with Edge, what they've done for a long time with Jay and Dez. I mean, it's awesome, man. And how you decipher, you don't which one speaks to you, which one do you want to help that one, and that I feel like that's with every foundation. A lot of people, I'm on board with what Macbeth and Ricky are doing. I donate to those foundations. They just did a big giveaway, gave a lot of discs to the Macbeth Foundation. We're not in competition in any way. We're all out here just trying to grow the sport as best as we could and help people. And I think that's the most important thing for sure.
Yeah, I
is to
couldn't
see
agree.
that we're in a spot where I'm lucky to be in the position to where I can help.
Yeah, and I'll also throw in there another one that I've worked directly and indirectly with as well in Double G's and what he's doing in selling his jerky, and then that automatically goes right to the Double G fund. A portion of those proceeds go there as well. And so the fact that we're seeing all of these develop and grow and thrive, and I think you worded it perfectly. Maybe there's one specific area that really speaks to you that you feel is best, and they all have carved out, yourself included, have all carved out a little niche in various areas within supporting disc golf, and I think that's what's really cool as well. So great to see it. The Pro Tour doesn't have a specific one, I don't.
They've been working with Uplay all season,
but I didn't know if there was a specific.
They don't have their own foundation, so to speak, but they have worked a lot with Uplay, and I think they've done a little bit with the Paul Macbeth Foundation as well. But
I know they at least probably have a couple deals with them to where they can run their ads on there, which is huge as well. To be able to run those ads on live disc golf is awesome. So they do a lot for sure.
Yeah, I saw some numbers, man. That advertising ain't cheap. If you're looking to advertise at the Pro Tour, it's real money now. Like, honestly,
or just cut me a check and I make stupid comments on the down low.
I can do that. We're gonna have our check-in with Terry. Terry, how you do down on the course?
Well, I'm out here wearing my new midi sweatshirt, and I love my grasshopper.
I'm thinking about going back to school, and I can do some help from the Yuli Foundation.
Back to you guys.
Yep, he must need a lesson from the academy.
So let's, for a moment, let's switch gears into, you talk about just overall presence and things that people can do.
I'm not sure how long. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm not sure how long my camera's going to last. I hope it'll last for hours more. But if all of a sudden I'm gone, okay. I still have to get the attachment that goes under there and plugs into the wall.
Yeah, we've been there, done that. We know how that goes.
It was fully charged. But if I'm just gone.
It's Smashbox. Yeah, we go till the lights are out. That's what
we had a new camera like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and same thing. I thought it would last for a while. I changed all the settings, and it was like right as our after show, it hit like 3 or 3.5 hours, and suddenly, boop, it just died. I was like, all right, I guess we need to get a new cord.
Yeah, you need that fancy cord to give it full power. What I was going to ask is, with dipping your toes in or head first into so many different things, should anyone expect anything different out of you and your Jomez relationship in 2023 in terms of you being at events, commentating? Is that kind of all status quo, so to speak?
No, absolutely, yeah. I plan on playing all the Elite Series, and one of the main reasons I do that is so I can do the whole Jomez thing.
Okay.
And so I plan on I definitely plan on doing that.
Okay.
When do you plan on cutting out Germ? Like, that's the big question everybody's asking.
I've been waiting to subscribe until that day.
I gotta be nice. I know I'm the first guy out. I was the replacement. I gotta play it cool, man. I know I'm the first guy out, so we'll just keep it 3 and everybody's happy. Man.
You're not even gonna try to push Sexton out? You're like, dude, you're barely here. Get out of here.
No. That would be the worst thing you could ever do, is say anything bad about Nate Sexton. That guy is beloved by the people.
Yeah, it's in my contract. I cannot say one disparaging word, otherwise I get my mic cut. Yeah, that's as it should be. So people should expect pretty much the same in terms of your involvement. That does bring up a great question, though, is, of course, we've seen Sexton not quite as, we'll say, on tour religiously and week in and week out like he used to be, and he kind of pops in and out, whatever you want to say. Do you expect more of that, I guess? The same. I mean, is it just assumed it's you and Germ and then Sexton when he's there? Is that pretty much the philosophy?
Exactly, yeah. So we're planning on it. I'm not at the controls with all of that stuff, but from what I know, I am doing the commentary. Nate's doing the commentary. Germ's doing the commentary. Same way as last year. So
okay. Chris has asked it a couple times on the board, and there's a lot of different angles or perspectives of ways that I could even phrase the question. But of course, there's been a lot of conversation about our transgender athletes. Last week, we had a very, very big talk about what the new policies are. And I don't want to just specifically attribute this question just to even Natalie as he asked it. I would ask more generically, when we're looking at the policies and procedures for transgender athletes, what would your advice, if you have any? I mean, of course, you're a team captain. You have some conversations that may or may not involve some of your players, depending on who you guys are sponsoring on any given year. Is there any overarching advice that you might have for someone that's in one of these, I don't want to call it situation, but that's in this, overall landscape or situation?
Yeah, it's tough because the landscape is changing drastically for everybody in all kinds of different ways, from the contracts, like you said, to rules changes.
Mm-hmm.
I've stood by this. Like, we all play by the rules. I don't make the rules. I expect everybody to play by them. And last year, Natalie had an amazing season. She killed it under the rules, and I, just like everybody else, I hope was happy for her, because she was playing by the rules that she had to play by. Now, moving forward, the rules have changed, and she's obligated to play by those rules again. My advice is keep going hard, do your thing, whatever that is. Keep playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a lot of years of, as you said, keep playing. It's been a lot of years of golf. We've seen, with you having the longevity of your career and seeing so many different things unfold and develop and change throughout these years. Thinking about, like you joked earlier, there were barely pennies to play for, and now we're talking about side hustles and side careers and institutes and charitable foundations. I also saw a stat just the other day that said you have now officially, you have the longest bitch list in disc golf. You've officially beat, as we like to say, beat down more people than anyone else. How does that feel?
Been at it a long time, man.
Okay.
That's how it feels. That's a crazy stat, because there's nothing that comes with that except for, this dude played a lot of tournaments.
You played a lot of variety of tournaments, I think, is also a big key. And this is
played well at them.
And you play well, so you got to play well. But you played a lot of variety of tournaments, and you played a lot of different regions, and so do a lot of other touring pros. But you just said earlier you played or run a tournament in Idaho. We don't see. Yeah. I bet you. I'd go as far as saying I don't know if Paul McBeth's ever played a tournament in Idaho. Now, he could beat people from Idaho at other events, but Paul McBeth probably hasn't played against people in Idaho. I'm just using him as one example. So it's a variety. I think it's largely a variety thing as well, in terms of also playing well. Is that maybe a fair assessment?
Yeah, well, there was another stat on that, because I saw that Statmando actually posted that. And I think I'm 10 Elite Series behind for the most Elite Series played. So it's not like I'm playing C tiers all over the place, because that's what everybody comments. They're like, oh, well, sure. Yeah, that's because he played 90 C tiers. Yeah, I played 90 C tiers, but I also played 200 Elite Series in my career. Mm-hmm. So there's, like you said, a big variety. I always, that was one of my favorite things about my career, is that I went all over the place. It didn't matter. I went to Idaho, like you said, the next weekend. Who knows where I would be? I would just find a tournament and go play. I missed that, honestly. And a couple weeks ago, I hadn't won a tournament all year. I hadn't. This is a funny story, actually. So I hadn't won a tournament all year, and I'm like, I'm gonna find a tournament that I can go win here in Charlotte, And so I'm like, I'm not going a season without a W. I look at the list and I see, okay, I'm signing up for this one. It was downtown, and I had the highest rating by like 60 points. So the next guy I think was like 970 or something. And I'm like, or 960. And I'm like, that's the one I'm signing up for. So I sign up for it. And it's at a course that I know too. This course called the Eastway Park. Mm-hmm. And so I show up there the morning of, and I'm like, yeah, feeling good and playing well. Play the first round, and I go double or bogey, double bogey to finish. Shoot like a 3 under, which is like just absolutely horrible. Like 7 under would have been fine. It would have been like right there in contention or whatever. But now I look at the scores and I was only 3 back. Luckily, the field was small. I think there was like 20 something people, but the ratings were very low. So I'm 3 back and I'm like, all right, I'm 3 back. Who am I 3 back of? And the guy was 917 rated. Ooh. And so we start the tournament, second round, and he goes, oh man, I'm kind of nervous playing with you. Like, this is my first ever pro tournament, you know? And I'm like thinking to myself, like, dude, I better win this tournament. Like, this guy's 917 rated, you know? This kid birdies 6 out of the first 7 holes and is just stomping me. Right. And of course, like, I was talking to my brother earlier this week and I'm like, it's never easy. It's just never easy to win a tournament. And I'm going through on the back 9 and I'm like, this kid is not missing. Like, how is this possible? I'm playing a good round at this point. He's only throwing sidearms. One of them's a polecat. And he's like throwing these Anheuser Jeremy Coling polecat shots that are shaped like a backhand. And I'm just like, and he's making everything. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose to this guy. Like, this is the craziest thing ever. So we have like 5 holes left. And I tell him, I'm like, now I start gamesmanship, you know? I'm like, man, you're playing like Paul Macbeth out here. Like, I'm going after it, dude. I'm telling you, no, I went there. No, it gets worse. It gets worse. I'm not proud of this. But then, but I'm okay. So I'm like, okay, nothing. He laces this shot. I'm like, Jesus, this kid ain't gonna quit, man. I'm gonna lose this tournament. So then we go over there, and I'm sitting on this bench, texting my buddy, because he's following the tournament, making fun of me. You know, he's like, and I'm like, dude, it's over, blah, blah, blah. Then I get up and I film the kid from behind the tree, showing him like he's making all these putts, you know, and the kid sees me. And he sees that I'm like, Philly whips it. And I'm like, oh no. And then the wheels kind of came off. I birdied 4 in a row. We get to the last hole and we're tied. So I was down by 4 and we tie it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how is this possible? He ended up double bogeying in the last hole, and I birdie it, so I win by 3. But the point is I'll do anything to get a dub, my friend.
Wow.
You don't want to come against me. I don't care if you're 917 or freaking Paul Macbeth. I'm coming after you.
Dang.
That's cold.
That literally just happened.
But
afterwards, this kid was like the coolest kid ever. He was like, dude, I almost had you, man. And I'm like, oh, I know you did. And he was super stoked because it was, you know, he shot like 10, 20 golf. He's 919 or 917 rated.
I'm surprised you didn't go to the.
Or watching.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I'm surprised you didn't go to the. Oh, you're up you're up a couple with like 3 holes to go. This should be, I'm surprised you didn't go to like the scorecard, and actually like call out the score.
His buddies came, and then I heard him over there chatting with him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm up 2, and we got 2 to play, or something." And I remember thinking, like, dude, this kid's unstoppable. Like, he doesn't care. He wasn't kidding. Like, he just didn't care. It was a whole new experience for him.
There's sometimes something to be said, and no offense, because I don't know who this kid is, about kind of just stupidity, not understanding where you're at. Like, you're just playing. You're not thinking.
No,
you're not
getting ahead of yourself.
You're not getting ahead of yourself. You don't care. Like, you don't understand the situation enough. And clearly, you were in the situation. He's just like, I'm playing great. Whoa, I'm beating Yuli. You know.
Yeah.
I truly
we had
believe.
An awesome card. I mean, we were joking the whole round and everything, but I was like, wow, I'm gonna lose to this guy. Now, it's not like I was just playing bad. That was the whole thing about it. Is I was like 8 under through 10. He was 8 under through 10. I'm still down by 3. And then he gets a birdie, and I'm 8 under through 9. Or 8 under through 11, and he's 9 under through 11. I'm like, dude, this guy's unstoppable. Like, how is this possible? But it just goes to show you that, like, there's so many good players. It's one of the things about the growth of the game. Like, that would have never happened when I was touring back in the day. And that's why I liked going to all those tournaments, because I could just get little easy C-tier snacks is what I called them. And get a little extra money, you know. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, like, I just decided, hey, I'm gonna throw it back and play a C tier this weekend, and a 919 rated or 17 rated player takes me to the the 18th hole tied. It's just crazy. There's so much talent out there. So I'm not gonna play any C tiers for a while, bro.
He chased you away.
Chased you out of the C tier.
Yeah, he's good to go, dude.
Yuli's like, hey, you know I'm the team captain, right? Of Discraft.
Yeah, I see you're carrying a mixed bag, and you. Wow. Yeah. It could be. I mean, that's of course. That's why they say that's why you play them. Ratings only mean so much to some degree, and sometimes some people can psych themselves out or have an inflated sense of confidence of like, oh yeah, this should be easy pickings, and 9 out of 10 times it might be, or 9.8 times out of 10 it will be, until somebody decides to have their best day and takes you by surprise.
Yeah, that's
pretty crazy.
Do you know? I mean, I think I don't recall the number of the people on your list, so to speak. In the 5,000s of number of people you've beat. Do you know who number 2 is and how far behind they are?
I think it's Dave Fehlberg.
That would make sense. Again, very well traveled, international and otherwise, and a ton of events.
Yeah, I think he's leading in the most Elite Series played, and he's now second in that category.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, then you should catch him for Elite Series this year, because I don't imagine him playing many.
Yes.
And here's a question: that number, the 5,000, whatever, is anyone going to ever beat that? Do you think it's going to be? I mean, you played so many events, and it's not like the money, like Paul Macbeth and Ricky and Kristen Tatar just broke 100,000. That great, that's cool. We're going to see it beat next year. Is your number going to be beat? Because we don't see a lot of these phenomenal players hit all these B tiers anymore. It's almost unheard of. I mean, you've got people, a few of them like Andrew Fish, maybe, that does a lot of traveling, and a couple of guys like that. But I have to wonder if that number is going to get touched.
I don't know. Not with as much as I play, because I still play all the Elite Series. I play the majors. I sneak in a couple here and there. I don't plan on slowing down as far as that goes. So it'd be tough to catch me, honestly. All records are meant. I don't even consider that a record. That's just
an interesting.
You beat more players than anybody. It's a stat. It's an interesting stat that it would be tough to accumulate that many people to beat, just because. But who knows? Maybe our fields get bigger, and then it's easier to where you have 400 people in a field or something, and you could get to that quickly. But
I just feel like our best players are playing against the same guys every week. Like, you can play, Gannon Burr is going to play a bunch of big events next year and beat a total of, 190 different people, because 110 of them are the same, every year.
I feel like if somebody...
I'm sorry Schwebby doesn't have that number.
And I just said that in the chat, but Schwebby also, again, largely regional, and he's beating a lot of the same people. Whoever comes into the Carolinas.
Did you go up to the 917 guy and be like, 5,251?
Check. That's when you're like, bitch list. Yep, gotcha. Thanks for playing.
I left it alone, man. I was out of there.
Yeah, you got out there.
My friend was like, I can't believe you did that. And I told him, I'm like, I'm going to sleep like a baby. I got my win for the year, dude. This is gonna be the best I've ever slept.
So is that is that better or worse than looking at your watch and pretending like you're timing one of his shots, even if you weren't? Is
if he
filming?
Was taking time, I would have called him on it, man. I was coming after that.
You could have bought the new Nico stopwatch. Okay.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, if like a Barsby or something just went like on a world tour and decided to go to like, Spain and all these different places with tournaments and stay there for a while, I'm sure they could accumulate a lot of new people, because there's a lot of places overseas that is growing and that I've never been to. I've never played in Canada. That's something that I want to do. Actually, I have. I was wrong about that. So can't go there.
They just won't let you come back. Any international travel out, and outside of the obvious, like European Open or Konopiste or any of those, like, is there any kind of unique travels on the horizon for you?
I want to get to Spain. Okay. I want to get to Spain for some disc golf. I mean, that's where my family's roots are. That's where Ulibarri comes from. Basque in the mountains. I really want to get to Spain. I don't know if it's going to be for disc golf or just for fun, but Spain is somewhere that I would like to for sure play disc golf, whether it be a tournament or not. But then, Finland, the regular stuff. Like if I have opportunity to go to those places, yeah, definitely going.
Okay.
But I don't have anything like planned to go. I've never been to Australia. That's another place that I'd like to go eventually. That was one of the majors that I missed a few years back.
I know the EPT has their All-Star event in Spain, I believe, every year now. Or they have it last
year. It just happened, yeah.
Yeah, they had it last year in November. I hate to say last year. It's literally not this year yet. Like a month ago, and they do plan on having it next year. So maybe you can All-Star your way into that one, too.
Yeah, just fan vote me, dude.
That's right. Or you could just go and do media stuff or hang out or,
Yeah, no, I'd love that for sure.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think of course, part of what prompts that is I think of Nate Perkins and James Conrad and Pierce and Hokum. A couple of them very specifically have been to Thailand. I know Ricky's been over there, Philo, Barsby, Nico. Yeah. And I just think of some of those more, they're off the beaten path. Obviously, you're not going there and winning tens of thousands of dollars, but just some of those either slow season or off season, extra events that are out there and available now. And I feel like those are going to become more and more popular as players are looking for a little, release to go other places. So very cool. Luke Butch is on the board. Butchie's saying an easy A-tier win in Thailand. And I mean, I don't know.
A little snack?
Yeah.
A-tier snack?
That's an A-tier snack. Yeah. We'll win you some bot.
Yeah.
At least probably 8, 10, 12,000 bot on the line. I don't know. Something like that. All right, Yuli. I think we got a pretty good catch-up session here, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it, man. It's been a long time coming to get back and hang out with you guys. You guys are always so fun. Appreciate you having me on for sure.
Of course.
One last question. It wouldn't be an interview with you without it. Are you still in any fantasy football leagues? Are you knocked out? Yeah. You
going to the big one.
You going to the championship? Or is that 2 weeks for you guys?
Nope, that's 2 weeks. So
okay.
I won. I was in 5. I got in 4 playoffs. I lost 1 playoff this last weekend. And then I'm still in for 3.
Okay.
The big one, though, I just went against Avery Jenkins. Yeah, disc golf one. And went against Avery Jenkins this last week.
Oh, yeah?
Took him down, man. And Germ's in that one as well. He lost, so he's gone. So I definitely need to mention that because in our group chat, I was blasting him all night last night. I kept asking him. I'm like, "You want me to? If you want, you can watch. You can get on the app and watch us play because
wow,
I'm gonna be playing fantasy next week." And I was ruthless last night. But that's fantasy for you. If you get in a good group chat with your boys, it can be the funnest thing because you just talk crap.
I know that league's been going on for a long time. I keep thinking how I need to get in on that somehow. So when next time somebody drops out,
Nation,
yeah,
yep,
that's one of the original ones. Well, congratulations on that in general. I know I was in the playoffs in 3 leagues and I'm down to 1 now, so I lost 2 of them. So
oh boy,
still going. I got 1 going.
Terry.
No, don't.
Terry couldn't name
Terry.
Terry probably couldn't name 3 Packer players, and he's a quote unquote Packer fan.
Yeah, I mean they won last night. That was a great game. It was a must-win game for us. We just really pulled it out. My boy Cobb, really did some work out there. Anyway, yeah. On that note, well, again, Yuli, we've put out a few of your initiatives out there. I put them in the chat. Of course, we've been talking about them. I'll try and remember to put those also in links in the description of the video. Any final plugs for if people want to know all things Yuli, where should they be heading? Is there a good,
just
most frequented spot?
Yeah, probably YouTube is a good spot right now for sure. I got a lot of content on there, especially with the Vlogmas and stuff, some fun stuff. But one Yuli, so one ULI on Instagram, and that's where I do most of my social media. I have a Facebook, but it's pretty much full. So if you didn't get in a long time ago, you're not getting in anytime soon. But that's it, man. I appreciate you guys.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, Of course, love to you and everyone in your circle there
family.
in that side of the country. And then we already know about all the amazing support and love and people, the rest of your family over out there in Arizona. I'm looking forward to seeing them. I feel like I get to see them as much as you do, which is a blessing for me as well.
Yeah.
Such a great group of people and humans over there. In fact, I was editing something your brother was in just last night, so I got some bonus content coming out as well.
Nice.
Some Memorial MP40 coverage, which
Good. I'll be able to see something. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have some. So, all right, pal. Well, we love you. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you for all the insights on the show. Also, how you wreck low-rated players at C tiers. We love the pro insight
Don't come
there.
at me like that, man. Put the fear in all those 9-15 rated players.
You'll show them.
This ain't no easy win.
Just
around
tell me, he wasn't junior-aged, was he?
Oh, he might have been.
Usually laying the beat down. That's what he's got to do. Thanks for joining us. Have a great Christmas. Good luck in your fantasy leagues, and have a great Christmas. And looking forward to seeing you in the new year. Talk to you later.
Have a good night, pal.
See ya.
Love you guys. Bye.
Oh, Ulibarri.
That guy's all right.
I tolerate him.
It's always great to catch up with Paul.
And yeah, so much conversation, and I'll segue that right into some of the most recent hot topics that came out of today. We're still in a stage of a lot of people talking about the sponsors that they are departing from, and not necessarily new announcements. I know we made a joke a week or two ago about AB, or just last week, I think I reached out to him.
Or today.
Him and others talking about, they'll see new announcements coming out in the future as to where they're going. I'm gonna check, because I was actually waiting on a text or two, to tell you the truth.
We saw this last year, actually, where we were kind of like, oh gosh, people are asking, why don't you just announce? Why don't you just announce? There is a huge value in that announcement video, or that announcement, because if you're a manufacturer and you have your ducks in a row, you can announce and release discs immediately.
At the same time, you're saying?
I'm saying that's the best method. What I hate is like, cool, Anthony Barella signs with Terry Miller Discs. Congratulations. Yep. You can get the Anthony Barella disc in 2 months when we have them all print. Like, no.
Have them ready.
You need to have a stock ready right now, because when that announcement hits, that is the hottest point of that is the point where you will have everybody's attention. The fingers will be ready to click and purchase. And again, we're not geniuses here for saying that, but let me just say, if you're a manufacturer and you're not doing this, you're going to miss out on sales. Get at least a run of discs, whether it's 1,000 or 5,000, whatever that is, ready for announcement. And so that's why we see players sometimes wait on announcements.
Yes, we get those.
Last year we saw Cat wait an enormous amount of time because they wanted to make sure that they had a bunch of Katrina Allen gear and discs set up. So hopefully, you're going to see some of your players who maybe don't, I don't say don't qualify, but maybe don't necessarily push the disc sales nearly as much, that they might announce right away without a disc. But if you're signing up what you feel is a premier player, you need to have that stuff set up right now.
Yeah, and even if it's not a premier player, like you're saying, it's at least an opportunity. You may think, this player might be, we'll say, a mid-level player, but you may have a direct either affinity to the player and or the company that they're going to. So it does feel like a relatively warm sales call already when it's like, oh, so-and-so just moved there? Yeah, I needed to buy a new blank from them anyway, and it happens to have their stamp. Now's a good time. So, yeah, all of that makes sense. I think the long and short of it is, when you're looking for advice, essentially you're just saying what Snoop says. Drop it like it's hot.
Drop it like it's hot.
Just drop it like it's hot. That's all you have to do, and you'll be good to go at this time. Real quick on Katrina, as you just mentioned her a moment ago, this is definitely a tangent, but she was at the Viking football game I saw this weekend. The Vikings, I think they play football.
She's a Minnesota native.
Yes, and she was at the game during this
with Austin Hannum.
Yes, he watches the footballs.
Biggest comeback in NFL history. Came back from, I believe it was
33?
30 or 33 points at half. think it was 30, maybe it was 33-0 or it was 30-0, but the Vikings came back against the Indianapolis Colts to win, I think 36-33. Something like that.
I just know this isn't the first game that she was at, and this year, but she had made a post saying, and I think I don't care where you are in. Well, I guess if you're on the bad end of that, maybe it's not quite as exciting. But to say you saw a game that is of that form of excitement, that level of excitement, I think is pretty cool.
33-0. Thank you, Tim. I couldn't.
There we go. So,
I don't pay much attention to the Vikings.
Yeah, we're not real big Vikings fans here. Ever since Randy Moss and Randall Cunningham left, I don't know.
Randall Cunningham.
Yeah, is that a good poll?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would have
I don't think I could name another one.
I would have gone a little.
Except for that guy that beat his kids, Peterson, right? Adrian.
I would have gone like a Dante Culpepper, but
yeah. Randall Cunningham was even way before him, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, but he's primarily known.
I know
for
my
being
things.
He's primarily known for being an Eagle.
Yeah, I know,
but he did.
I buck the trends
bro.
when it comes to sports nostalgia.
I know, bro.
Anyway,
that's like saying, oh yeah, Andre Dawson when he was in Expo, or
yeah,
exactly. you're like, no, he was a Cub, but you're like, no,
technically
I'm a deep puller.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they call me. All right. So in other news, and largely, I'm going to say, I feel like this is largely FPO centric in some of the announcements that we've seen very recently. It may have even already been last week, but we saw Maria Oliva made the announcement that she was going to be leaving Innova. She has not announced where she's going to go. Lisa Fakis today, just this morning, made the announcement. I was looking at the date to see if there's any other significance to it, but it's December 20th. She made the announcement, I believe, for the first time just this morning, saying that she is going to be parting ways with Innova. Stacey Ronsley.
Is Lisa Fakis the highest rated FPO player that's made an announcement this year?
I mean, I'd have to go to the internet.
I think she's the highest profile so far that we've seen. Because she was, I would say, she's a regular touring pro and a very solid player in general right now. So,
let me do a search. I'm just trying to think of who's all made it. I don't have a fancy chart in front of me, which would have been a good idea by now, to have some kind of fancy chart in front of me.
Oh yeah,
but I don't.
You need the fancy chart, Terry.
Kristen, Owen. I'll just read through. I've simply sorted by current PDGA ratings. Tatar, no news. Owen, Page, Gannon, Salonen, Blumros, Valerie Mondahano, Katrina Allen, Haley King, Holland Hanley, Sarah Hokum, Kat Murch, Natalie Ryan.
Now the rumors are Kat Murch is leaving, but we don't know that for sure yet.
I think you started that rumor. Macy Valadiaz, Ella Hansen, Jennifer Allen, Angela Chickfrey. She's listed on here.
Yeah, but she's not current. I did a search. I did the same thing, but search for current. So
far I've been pretty good.
Lisa Fakis is, in theory, right now the highest rated player that we have heard an announcement from in the FPO field.
Yeah. So she made an announcement this morning. I saw hers first, and then just a little while later, I saw Stacey Ronsley say that she will be also hanging up her wings, as she borrowed that phrasing, or maybe others have said it as well. I know Cassie Sweeten said it just a few weeks ago. Also, since last week, I think I went on and on saying how shocked I was to hear of that from Cassie Sweeten, to see that she has then signed up and is part of Dynamic Disc, and she's made that announcement since last week. I'll just personally say, from visiting there a few years ago, I know that her circle and people that she's around have been largely trilogy-based players. I think of a few of the other top pros that I know from over there that she's either related to or married to or good friends with. A lot of trilogy-based, so I made that immediate understanding. But yes, that's where she has landed. So best of luck to her, of course.
Some other players that we saw: James Proctor leaving Innova, Erica Stinchcomb leaving or being maybe left at the altar by Westside, depending on how you read into her post. Terry, do you think so? Again, I know we talk about being old. Many years ago, we saw Prodigy make a huge splash, show up.
2013?
12, 13? Yeah.
13, I'm going to go with.
And we saw them sign a whole bunch of players. Now, granted, they were a lot of top players. Do you think we're going to see, and the only manufacturer that I'll even put out there is Lone Star. Do you think we're going to see kind of something similar from Lone Star with maybe not the impact of the top-rated players, but maybe of the mid-tier players that we're seeing move and announce right now? Do you think we're going to see kind of something like that from Lone Star, where it's suddenly like, hey, here's our team. We've picked up 10 to 12 touring pros? Because, again, I don't think we're going to see the biggest names like we saw with Prodigy. Because at the time, the Prodigy move had almost all your top players, other than Paul McBeth, go over to Prodigy. Do you think we're going to see something like that with mid-tier players and a Lone Star or a Clash this year?
Yeah, I think Lone Star has been either quietly or not so quietly, depending on which corner of the internet you're on, has been attracting and acquiring players. The question is which ones specifically are they going to ultimately end up and how many of them, but they're definitely out there attracting and acquiring these players right now. And some, immediately you start thinking someone like a Maria Oliva, who has roots in Texas. You think of Elisa Fakis with her roots in Texas, as two that may or may not. Now we all know, look at Yuli. He lives in Rock Hill, South Carolina, literally down the road from where Innova has its East Coast headquarters, and clearly he is not an Innova player. So there is still only so much to be said about that. Big Germ back in the day was once sponsored by Discraft and lived right there in Charlotte, similarly. So just where you live doesn't necessarily, especially in this day and age, maybe years ago a little bit more, but not so much anymore. And so whether you're grasping at straws, wow. Whether you're grasping at straws or not at that point is to be determined if you're just trying to make that connection. Then you start thinking about, to me, it's circle of friends connections. And I know we were giving a hard time to Yuli before, but if you look at someone like an Anthony Barella, who was largely dubbed, as we said, Paul McBeth protege, had a lot of similarities, and then you knew that he was friends with the Ulibarri family, so on and so forth. And then a good friend of his, Adam Hammis, has now been on Discraft for a couple of years. You start to put some of these things together, and some of it just seems obvious or makes sense.
But
seemingly.
just because something makes sense,
it's not assumed.
Doesn't.
Yeah,
like I said, we gave Yuli a hard time, and that's where you and I both feel like AB will go. But someone could surprise us.
They could be wrong.
I agree.
So I guess we'll see how that all shakes out. But yes, I think Lone Star is very much become a player in this conversation, has been a of player acquisition. They have been right there in that conversation.
I'm gonna continue and push some rumors that I've heard about Lone Star themselves. I know that they're a newer company. I believe they do injection molding, and they have some big contracts with the oil industry down in Texas, which is why they can, we'll say, float their disc golf business temporarily while they build it up. So I know a lot of people are saying, like, how can they get all these players? And my understanding is that there was some an article, I think Ryan Pilcher posted to it, or some quotes about how Lone Star is surprised that they didn't know that if they were going to do $30,000 in business. Now they were doing $30,000 with one vendor, is I think what the quote was. So I think we're seeing that, there is it's really funny because discs are pretty cheap to make, but making the discs isn't cheap. You need the machinery, you need the molding. Once you get that in place, the plastic itself isn't necessarily the most expensive thing. It's really the initial investment, really, where you need to pay things off. And as we know, Lone Star, if you want to, Yuli said it himself here, if you want to sell plastic, a lot of times putting a player's name on it is the way to go.
Yeah, and if you, as I was just going out to their site right now, you can see that right on the front page, at least right now. You see the Jackrabbit, a Nico LaCastro limited edition, and you see the Warbird, a Chandler Kramer Tour Series disc. You see those two that are listed right now. And I don't know if I see any other.
I don't think they have a team page, so to
I
speak.
don't see a team page at the moment. However, I'm guessing
if
we're going to be seeing one very quickly. We see a Leah Sinigini disc out here and a Tanner Gerard Tour Series disc out here as well. If you dig around a little bit on the site, you can find that. But I think we're going to see some of that expanding, and I think you're going to see a large splash and an announcement by a number of players here very soon is my guess.
I hope they take a photograph of them all in just a silhouette, all standing next to each other.
And then what? Post it.
Throwback from the Prodigy, the
I
original
know
Prodigy website, where you had, I think, like 9 or 12 players, and you could tell who they all were, but it was just a silhouette because it was a secret. So,
not for us smarties.
No, we knew back in the day.
Yeah, we understood. We knew how that stuff worked. Okay, so those are a couple of the other ones. Also, as you just mentioned, what she said, I believe she stated in a surprising fashion to some degree. Erica Stinchcomb had said that she is no longer going to be with Westside Discs, and a little birdie told me that Erica has some. Okay, it was Erica. Has some sponsorship things that waiting on some ink to dry, I think is the phrasing that she used. So I think we're going to see some announcement, which largely tells me that it probably didn't take long for someone to win her over, to immediately pick her up with her availability on that. So and we wish her the best of luck as well.
Literally know zero about what's happening with Erica, but I think you and I kind of had a quick brief discussion before the show how I personally think that it would be maybe advantageous for someone like MVP to go after an Erica, if assuming that they're keeping Madison Walker on, because I think the two of them have a very good chemistry with their Two Hot Geese and the commentary, and to not have a manufacturer dichotomy between the two of them would be maybe useful for MVP's sake. You know, like you know, as we saw, Big Sexy having the Innova tie together, I think helped out. Having two MVP players could be advantageous for the branding of that. And you know, I know nothing. I don't pay any bills.
You don't have to tell anybody.
Everybody knows
that you don't know.
Everybody knows that I don't know jack. But in general, I feel like that would be I don't necessarily say a good fit, because I don't feel a particular fit with Erica. I don't know her very well personally, but that seems like a good tie to me. But who knows? I mean,
again, there's something that where it might make sense, at least to the outside world. Does it make sense?
Correct.
Fully on the inside, I guess that's to be determined. But I think, as I say, a lot of companies would be incredibly lucky to have Erica represent.
She's a wonderful person.
Yes.
I've only chatted with her real briefly, usually just in passing, but can't say enough about how nice she seems.
So those are all things that we've seen. And then, interestingly enough, I think I learned about something new on the Disc Golf Pro Tour via someone else's post with regard to her sponsorship. So Carolina Halstead out of Idaho, who Yuli was just talking about a little while ago, or that area, had made a post about she wants to go on tour. She has a silver tour card pass. And I was like,
I didn't know there was a silver tour
thank
card
you.
pass.
That's what I thought.
We knew about the tour card.
There is one, and she has it. So
is she the only one?
Yeah.
Like, did someone like? Let me tell
somebody
you.
duped her for just $29.99 a month. I can get you.
Listen,
no.
If you send me $400, I'll give you your.
No. So she said that
pass.
her hard work has paid off. She has a 2023 tour pass, silver tour pass. She's excited. She's stressed out financially, blah, 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 but she wants to go on tour, and she's looking for support through her GoFundMe account. So that's one component. Congratulations to her. However, I then, because of her posting that, I was able to go to the Googles, where I see on dgpt.com/schedule register tour pass, it says, in 2022, the Disc Golf Pro Tour launched the first tour card program for tour players, blah, blah, blah. For 2023, we've built on the initial pilot program, learning from challenges and implementing ideas from tour card holders and the Players Council. That sounds official. We're pleased to present version 1.0 of the 2023 tour card program. Please note that as we get closer to 2023 kickoff, there may be updates and so on and so forth. So, yeah, this is, I thought I didn't recognize it. And just like you, there's a reason why we didn't, because we didn't know about it. So that's out there. I'm going to actually put this in the chat while I'm at it, just if anyone else wants to look at it. Please let me know if you guys knew about this. I'm not saying I read every press release. I'm not going to BS anyone and claim that. So this very well might be old news. But until I saw Carolina's post saying that she had earned it, I didn't know that it existed. And so I'm learning tonight with you guys is really what I'm trying to tell you.
If I don't get a direct message from Mahmoud, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He's my form of information.
So yes, that's out there. Silver, not as in older players, no, but silver as in I want to do a little bit as a pilot program. The Silver Tour Card will be a limited exemption and a benefit program that allows professional disc golfers who have not qualified for the full Tour Card program to have limited access to registration and benefits. Just it kind of, to me, I read that as you're like the next tier. Mm-hmm. The final details of this program will be separated from the Tour Card program. Registration for events via the Silver Tour Card will happen separately. The DGPT will issue Silver Tour Cards to 10 MPO and 5 FPO players who do not qualify for their full tour cards on a case-by-case basis from the exemption application, Silver Cards, blah, 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 in early December. So she's one of those 5, apparently.
I hope they make her wear like a giant scarlet letter, and and all the pros like shun her, like just kind of mean girls.
Come on, she's already left-handed. She doesn't.
I'm sorry, you can't sit at this table. You have to sit at the other table.
No, so nonetheless, because I am friends with her on Facebook, I saw the post, and I wish her nothing but the best of luck. I just saw her most recently at the PLO. And it'd be awesome to see her if she's out there on tour. Sometimes when you do see her out there at some of the big events, I know she's pretty good friends with Owen Scoggins. You see her rolling in. And if you're in Owen's crew, you're in good company.
If you're rolling with Owen,
you're in good company, right? So, again, best of luck. So that was something else I saw in the news today. And then two other quick things that were in the news before we wrap up the regular show. Ricky Wysocki jumping on the off-season content train, as he should be. I believe Gatekeeper's producing some stuff that worked with Ricky. I think the first set of that started to release yesterday as of December 19th is when we started seeing some of that. And then just today, and we glossed over it quickly, we saw some more information released about the Macbeth 6-time disc that a lot of people are talking about. Sometimes I wouldn't go out of my way to make a special news announcement for something of that nature, but there's a lot of hype surrounding people that want a Frisbee with 6 claws instead of 5 or 4 on it.
I'll buy a bunch of them.
I will too, but I'm a hoarder. So anyway, nonetheless, there's a video. It kind of breaks down a little bit of history. There's going to be more videos. I love that they go out there and explain it, because it doesn't then leave it to question or speculation or something dumb that people like us might say. You can just go watch the videos for yourself. So I can very much appreciate that. One last note, this is a little bit definitely more local and regional, and it kind of leads to another question, for you guys, is if you're familiar with these or have any part of these. But this weekend in Wisconsin here, we had what's called the Wisconsin Disc Sports Association Summit. It's really a collection of 6 or 7 of us guys.
A bunch of old guys,
and me not quite as old, but a collection of us that help. I don't want to say we're like the mini PDGA of Wisconsin, but I mean, for a lack of a better analogy, that's even pushing it. We just kind of help guide is a word. Sure. We help guide or answer things that are happening within Wisconsin disc golf. I was the youngest addition to that board 20 years ago, so we've only gotten older since then. We did vote in some new board members, which was well overdue, including adding a couple of women to the board, which is awesome to see. And so we're going to have some fresh perspectives and different perspectives finally added to this group. And I guess my question to you guys is, are you familiar? Do you have something like that in your state
or region,
or even region? Yeah. And we talked to Yuli earlier, who talked about, the Charlotte club. That's one club that's, we'll say, for that area. And clearly it's a massive one and very successful. But is there any kind of state organization or even bigger collective group that oversees maybe all the clubs, or is some kind of a resource or an answer? That would be the thing I'd ask of you guys, if that happens in your state, and if you'd find that valuable or not. Because I think things like that and state-based Hall of Fames are becoming more popular. I think we're starting to see a lot more organization at the higher levels, which has its pros and cons for sure. So D. Lilho says, local news in Wisconsin, -50 wind chill coming. It is not going to be pleasant here for the next few days. And I know a lot of people across the country are getting some nasty weather.
There's an Arctic
and we
blast.
are part of that.
There's an Arctic blast. And it looked like from the images that I saw that it was basically running from Idaho all the way to the East Coast down into Texas, where we're looking at, nothing higher than like 30 degrees. For most places. And for us here, we're looking at single digits with 50-mile-an-hour winds. Should be a blast.
Time to go play some golf.
Time to get some golf in.
Yeah. Expose all that skin. Go get some golf. Okay. No skin exposure from this guy. Nobody wants that. We're going to close it out. Nobody wants or needs a longer show. We had Paul Ulibarri. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was great to get caught up, provide lots of insights, as we always cover plenty of different topics. So we appreciate all of that. Thank you to all of our regulars who are out here on the board. Stick around, because of course during the after show, not only are we going to talk more about random things, but we'll also have a giveaway. And we got
some disc golf discussion to talk about.
We know how much you love giveaways and random discussions. So don't go anywhere. We're going to stand down for just a few moments, take a quick break, reset the show. We'll be right back. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 434's After Show.
I got RSV. No, I don't.
All right, welcome in, everyone. This is the Smashbox TV After Show. All bets are off we may or may not speak of disc golf related topics.
Oh, we're going to talk some disc golf topics.
Maybe we have a few of them. And we love to especially hear from you in the YouTube chat, as that sometimes helps drive this bus during the after show. However, not required. If you don't give us good stuff in there, we'll make up other dumb stuff to talk about.
I was sent some information, or actually not information. I was sent maybe some questions about the upcoming Ultra World article regarding Fandom. Now, we saw one come out just recently that kind of had a general listing of the players, where they rate as far as fandom, who's people's favorite player, general rank, but I think they're getting more detailed in this next thing, because I believe there were a lot of questions that were asked. Did we talk about the fandom survey last time?
I don't think we did, because I flike it came out...
Maybe right after. Maybe it came out Wednesday?
Possibly.
Nah,
we'll go with that.
Was there anything that surprised you in there?
Not like, really.
Crazy out of the ordinary?
I don't think so.
I think this part of the survey that they're going to release is a little bit, I don't want to say more media centric, but I think it does have some media questions in it. For instance, how do you primarily watch disc golf? Is it mostly live and some post, mostly post and some live, only one or the other? And there's a few other questions in here that Jesse Wise, I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Could be Weiss, Weezy, Weissz, who I believe is one of the authors, or the author, maybe he's the solo author, sent us just asking maybe, if we have thoughts. We have thoughts, Terry?
Is this on record?
This is going to be on record. It's on the podcast. One of the questions that was asked of the general public, and now this went out a few months ago. I believe 2 months ago or so is when the survey was released. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think of the Disc Golf Pro Tour? Where do you think that number will fall? Ish.
That's so tough.
That's the point, Terry.
No, but
No, that's the point, Terry.
There's a million ways to interpret
the point,
that,
Terry.
That question.
That's the point, Terry. In general, though, if
to have widely gaping, complete, overall arching perspective that I can interpret 100 different ways.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's the whole point.
I'm going to assume it's going to come back.
Do you feel people have a general feeling of positivity or negativity to the Pro Tour?
Again, without anything specific in question, I would assume it's going to be largely positive.
So what's that number? 6, 7, 8? Because I think, because the follow-up question is, how do you feel about the PDGA? And again, there's 1,000 things to feel about the PDGA, but this is a general stick your toe in the water. This isn't representative of my personal thoughts, but looking out at the temperature of the people, I kind of feel like, well, I'll ask you this first. Who's higher, DGPT or PDGA?
I think, given recency, which is what people will go off of.
Remember, we're talking 2 months ago is when the survey came out.
I feel like the DGPT in that case will have a higher overall score.
Agreed. I'm with you. I had said that. I think the DGPT will probably score around 7.5 to 8. And that the PDGA will probably be closer to 6.5. That's my general. You think I'm close?
I have no idea, because I don't know who's reading Ultra World, as in who their fan base is. Well, they are PDGA members. Are they not PDGA members?
I think
how serious of a disc golfer are they? How are you finding Ultra World?
I think
Ultra World's survey in the first place.
It's going
that's only found by certain people.
True.
That's like saying, who's watching the first round next year of of a new silver event on the tour, like Joe Schmo, fresh into disc golf, barely even knows what disc golf is, isn't finding round one FPO coverage of the silver such and such first time event on a Thursday. They're not finding it. I understand that, and I agree with that. It's just a very different viewer base than final round on Sunday at the USDGC. Like,
well, here's my assumption: the Ultra World Survey is going out to people who are truly plugged into disc golf.
Okay. Yep.
Because if you're following, the only way you're probably finding out about this survey in general is if you're either an Ultra World subscriber or if you follow them on the socials. And I think that is probably your more plugged in person, for whichever way you want to look at it. Just someone who is involved in the sport. With those criteria, does that change your idea at all? Does it change how people do you think feel about the PDG? Do you think people who are more plugged in?
Yeah, it does. I feel like the base of responses is largely differing depending on obviously their familiarity with the sport, their longevity, their commitment to it. Those are all very different things. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think I need to put it on my headstone that so many things that go on in disc golf are largely misunderstood sounds a little generic, but kind of like are largely unknown or misunderstood. And I know that could be said of a lot of things, but just so many people have no clue, have no clue what's really going on. And then that's what drives the narrative drives their fury and frustration or likeliness or otherwise.
On both sides, because I made my feelings clear last week about my stance on the recent PDGA announcements. But I've been having discussions with people who do agree with me on my stance, but don't necessarily agree with the PDGA and how they got there. Me personally, I tend to go into things with a slightly more, I don't know, positive or optimistic outlook. I give more people the benefit of the doubt.
Sheesh, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I give our PDGA board and the medical committee and the sub-medical committee and subcommittee and subcommittee, whatever. I give them all more benefit of the doubt that they went in with an open mind. I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think all people do. And I don't know the answer, clearly. This is just my perspective. But I don't necessarily think that the survey, even if you're plugged into the sport, that you necessarily agree. And here's my question. Do you think, and we don't know this and we won't have the answer to this, do you think that those numbers are any different today versus they were 2 months ago?
I do.
Really? So if 2 months ago, I'm going to throw some generics out there because I'm plugged into a few different groups. 2 months ago, I feel like we had a lot of people who were, we'll say, anti-trans athletes, very upset at the PDGA for continuing to allow trans athletes to play. Obviously, with last week's announcement, that has flipped. So do you think the PDGA gets a higher score now than they would have 2 months ago, or a lower score now than 2 months ago? Because we've seen the statistics. I 100% buy the statistics that, there are people who are out there who are complaining like, oh, the survey and this and that. I think the numbers are the numbers. I don't disagree with what the numbers say. I don't think that, we had 30,000 people answer this survey. I 100% think that the numbers are accurate. That's kind of the general feeling of how our general community feels, that, there was a 70% whatever that fell on the side of not including trans athletes. I don't think the numbers are wrong. So knowing that number, do you think the PDGA would get a higher score today than they would 2 months ago?
I think you're kind of answering your own question in that sense.
Well, that's my question. Or do you think,
Yeah, I think if you're just following a reasonable, relationship of if the PDGA, and I'm just speaking I don't want to say generically, but if the PDGA had, for lack of a better term, an approval rating of X 2 months ago,
Yep.
and then they release and implement a policy change that aligns with 70 to 80% of what the people responded with, I think the numbers will then shift to their approval rating, then increasing.
Okay.
Because I think there's a direct correlation there. You can make your own judgments whether you agree or not, whether that should or shouldn't happen, whatever. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
we're not
if you're
rehashing
looking
that
at
subject.
if you're looking at, exactly as I said.
Or my other thought was, do you feel that maybe people who were unhappy with the PDGA 2 months ago, maybe for this subject, are still not going to be happy with the PDGA for something else? Like, do you think there are some people who are just, I mean, there clearly are, but do you think a majority of the people who are unhappy with the PDGA will just find a different reason to be unhappy with the PDGA?
I mean, that's always possible.
Or
because you have just your
biggest
through and through
thing right now.
I think it was the biggest thing. I think it was the biggest thing, which is funny because it didn't feel like it was. It didn't seem that way when it came to specifically the voting for the board members, but when put out, maybe rephrased and regurgitated in a different way with the survey seemed to speak loud and clear, at least of the people that replied.
Ooh, I'm going to put you on the spot.
I defer.
You may. Were you surprised at, because after our show, they released the information about the board. Who voted which way?
Oh, which I didn't even look at.
Yeah, it was a 4-3 vote.
Okay.
I believe it was Leah, Laura, and Conrad Damon all voting for, we'll say, inclusion, not restricting the trans athletes.
Mm-hmm.
The other 4 board members, and I can't remember who they all are right now, so I don't want to say. But I do know the other 4 voted against the inclusion. Are you surprised by any of that? Does it, or better not surprised? That maybe that's not the right word. Is what? Okay, I'll just say I'll pull the Terry Miller. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean,
because that's one of your interview staples.
Yeah, I'd like to. I was just gonna say, I wonder if I can, because I want to know.
Because it was Jeff Hungerford, obviously Nate Heinold. I forget who the other 2 people on the board of directors are. You could look up board of directors, and it would tell you exactly who's on the board of directors. But it was the other 2. It was the other 4 that clearly voted against it. And I'll say, it doesn't shock me, because I look at it in different ways, as I try to do. I try to look at it from a bunch of different perspectives. That the PDGA board was handed something from the subcommittee that gave their opinion, and the opinion was 7-0 on the subcommittee. And the board then takes that and takes the survey and puts it all together. And there, on one hand, you can look at it and say, well, if the subcommittee and the survey went one way, how does someone like, we'll say, a Laura or a Conrad Damon or a Leah, how do they vote against that? Like because if you didn't do the research and someone hands you a paper and says, here are what we consider the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm not going to get into the subcommittee stuff. There's a whole nother subject. How do you vote against that? Now, me personally, I look at it and say, well, Leah and Laura were some of our newest board members that were elected.
And Conrad. They almost ran on a specific platform, which was inclusion. Like, that was what some of this was. I don't know necessarily if Conrad did, but I know Laura and Leah were very much about the inclusion. So to me, they did what they were, quote unquote, elected to do. They came in with that perspective and they stuck with it. So when you get elected for saying something, I give them much respect for following with that. The other members of the board didn't necessarily run on that platform.
and maybe looked at something a little differently. So I know there are a lot of ways to look at this. Do you have the other names? It was Wilbur Wallace.
Yeah.
And
David Schraff.
David Schraff, thank you. Those are the other names of the people of particular.
David Schraff, who does not specifically, and that was, I know, one conversation piece, was does not have a disc golf background. In fact, is, from media and advertising and from some of those particular, he was vice president at Walt Disney Television at one point, president of global marketing and media for the NBA, president and COO and board director at Marvel Entertainment, so on and so forth. I mean,
the guy's got some quality.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around, a lot of those things for quite some time. Obviously, he was elected, based on all these qualifications. So, and his experience. So yeah, you've got Heinold, Wallace, Schraff, Hungerford, Nottingham. I don't know how to pronounce Laura's last name very well. Sinigini, which is surprisingly easier for me to say.
That's why I kept calling her Laura,
yeah,
and not trying to pronounce her last name.
And Conrad Damon. So, anyway,
Yeah. So yes, it was announced on who voted which direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as you just said, when you look at whether it was their platform or one of the main reasons or one of the main, I hate to call it agenda, but one of their main themes in what they're running on.
It is a platform.
They all fall within, at least specifically Leah and Laura, not so much from Conrad's, from what I could see from at least his description here.
Yeah.
It certainly, like you said, it falls within kind of what they ran on and what they were all about. So can you say I'm surprised by that? Not really.
And it's funny because we are a representative sport. We elect these people in order to do what we feel is best. And again, the reason why, I don't say the reason, but one of the reasons why they were elected recently, Laura and Leah, was because of this particular subject. We saw people run on the opposite side of that did not make it. So when you have a huge portion of the survey results and the medical committee, I understand why you trust what your subcommittee is going to give you. It is thoroughly investigated. It took them 12 months and whatnot. There's a lot of talk. I've been back and forth with a few people online that don't like I don't say don't like the results of the subcommittee, but don't necessarily think it was the best.
The summation
that it wasn't top notch, and I can understand that perspective, and I don't disagree with them per se, but the board trusted the subcommittee to hand them something, and they did. They gave them something, and that's
and I'm beyond because I am. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm not an expert.
Are you sure?
Yes.
There's a lot of experts
I double
out there
checked. Yeah, there are, but I am not one, and so I call it ignorance. But when I see a report and I see these things that come in, I am in no way qualified, in my opinion, to then further analyze and break down what these committees and subcommittees have arrived at, because they all did 100 times more research than me. And that's why even when I do have any of these conversations, I often say, in my non-expert opinion, I can just go by what I presently feel. I have not done the research, and quite honestly, I'm not going to. This is way outside of my purview of being an expert in these conversations and these topics. I'd like to know what I'm talking about to have the conversation, but I'm not going to be breaking down the differences between the 2 nanomals and the 2.6 nanomals and the 3.0 nanomals in terms of the testosterone levels and what they mean at various, like all of that is just, that's way outside of my purview. And that's not to say I don't care. It's just to say I don't want to get caught up. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get caught up in those conversations that I'm not an expert in. So no matter what my personal opinions are, they're always qualified with just that as being my personal opinion and my non-expert personal opinion. A lot of people think their opinions are in fact facts, but that's not necessarily the case. I know enough of what I don't know to say this is just my personal opinion as a non-expert. And that's how I usually move forward with this entire conversation when talking about somebody. I get asked all the time, obviously, what my opinions or my perspective it is. And I always start with my non-expert opinion says this. Yeah. And you could take that and throw that out the window, and I'm good with that. Yeah. I'm not an expert, and I don't claim to be. Like,
there's a lot of things I would consider. There's not a lot. There's a few things I would consider myself an expert on. This is not nearly one of them. But I do trust the PDGA. I trust the medical committee. I trust the secret sub-medical committee, whatever it is. And again, our board of directors was not tasked with doing the research. They were tasked with looking at the results. So I think that is a clean distinction, so I can understand why the votes came in the way they did. So
okay. So that and I think one thing we are seeing just on a little higher level of all this is I can see right now as I'm looking at PDGA.com, you can go out and you can see the minutes from the Fall Summit in 2022. There's a PDF document that's right there. You can actually see the last, all of the last previous meetings when you're looking at the 2022 September teleconference, the August teleconference, July, so on and so forth. Those are all posted, and then they have approved minutes from all of 2021's board meetings all listed right there on the website. I know a lot of people, and I'm going to say this in a very generic sense, a lot of people say that, things are behind closed doors and or there's no transparency.
I disagree.
I'm saying stuff is out there. You have to just sometimes take 2 seconds to look for it. Well, where is it? I can't find it. Like 2 seconds of clicking around and you can find most of what you're looking for. You just have to put in like 2 seconds
Budget
worth of
and
effort.
Board meetings. Those are the two things.
That's the two things everybody looks for. And 99 out of 100 times they're out there and they're available. A couple of clicks will get you there. They're not trying to hide it, and it's not hidden or privileged information. It's available. And that is, whether you're for or against any conversation piece within the PDGA, I will tell you that stuff is almost always out there, and it's just a couple clicks away. You don't think there's some big conspiracy theory about them trying to hide something from you. You just have to be able to click like once or twice without a board member like leaning over your shoulder and holding your hand and holding the mouse.
So going back to the initial...
That's a side note.
The whole thing was a side note compared to what we were talking about. So you think that the PDGA will be viewed better now than they were 2 months ago. How about the DGPT? Because the DGPT technically did not have... they went along with the PDGA, so they were never, I feel, held to the same, I want to say same standard, but same ire that the PDGA was. So do you think that this decision helped or hurt the DGPT?
I would say it either is held the same or it is slightly increased.
You think
would be my guess. Again,
okay.
Yeah, I'm just going off of what a relation. I don't know if that's cause effect, correlation, whatever that is, to say that if more people seem to have this opinion, and then we're implementing policy that aligns with the majority of people's opinions, I'm going to assume with that, you're going to find a slight increase in the favorability of the people that are implementing said policy. Okay. I mean, I think that's just obvious, but I could be dead wrong. In my non-expert opinion, I mean,
we should just put that as a tag at the beginning of our podcast.
Every show.
Just have that as, welcome to Smashbox. Our
expert opinion is about all sorts of stuff.
And then just open up the show.
All right. I mean, do you feel there's going to be an inverse?
I think there would be a slight inverse for the DGPT. And it's hard for me to step outside my own bias, but because I don't feel that the DGPT was ever held to the same standard, I don't want to say standard, as the PDGA, because this is a PDGA decision, that the DGPT, again, like I said, no one was holding this against the DGPT because this is a PDGA rule. But now that the PDGA laid down a rule and the PDGA laid down a rule and the DGPT followed it, I feel that this I don't think this could help the DGPT much. I think it could only hurt the DGPT. And I don't think it's much, to be fair. I think it's very slight, if anything. And that's based purely on public perception. The only other thing I wanted to ask about this survey was, in general, live versus post. If you're talking about a plugged in, I don't want to get into the pros and cons by any means, please. Don't fucking start with me there. If you're talking about a plugged in segment like who took the survey, how many, in general, do you think more people watch live? Or do you think still more people are watching post with live?
I think the largest majority of viewers are now watching post and some live.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I think that in general is correct. I
Yes.
don't know if that's necessarily
Who took the survey?
Yeah, I don't know if that's who took the survey, because again, I think the survey is for people who are relatively plugged into the thing. Because I don't remember how many people took the survey. It was like 1,200 or something like that. Maybe.
This Ultra World survey?
Yeah, because I think it was all tied into the last survey as well. So I don't know. Yeah, it's I do love this type of survey, and I hope they continue to do it year after year. Because just as a fan of stats and nerdism, I would love to see the changes in our fandom, how they tend to trend. You know,
Sure.
even not even just the post versus live stuff, because we all know live is kind of trending up. Post, I don't know what post is doing because I'm not involved. I don't know if it's trending up, trending flat, trending down. I don't know. I know live is trending up, but I also really want to see how the survey responded to players. Like, can you watch who is on the upswing? Like, taking a look at, let's say, like Gannon Burr, can you look at his favorability rating and say, oh, wow, look at in 2022, he had a 6.8 or whatever the number was. And it moves, 2023, 2024, 2025, and it just keeps moving up until it drops down. So I'm excited to kind of look at the survey for the pros and watch that progress. So I hope it's something that they can continue to move with. So just it gives us crap to talk about in the off season too.
Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting when I'm just now clicking on it, but it's really interesting to see, as you're saying, some of the demographics of the survey. One thing it showed was that 94.9% of the respondents were male to 4.2. So that is almost, I'll say, even double what our typical PDGA participation is when it comes to overall membership. I think we hover in the 7, 8, 10-ish percent of PDGA members are women.
Half of what normally our...
Yeah, so the respondents here were, half of, even half of that already seemingly low 10%. So I guess that kind of ultimately fits in line with what we're seeing. So, yeah. Good stuff. Thank you, Ultra World.
I like that we have someone out there doing stuff like this.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
All right, Terry. My next question. Do you have HBO Max?
I don't. This is why I don't watch anything that's essentially I don't watch anything that's not Netflix. For this exact reason.
White Lotus is so good. You like it.
I have never. And to be fair, I've never looked into acquiring any other way or doing anything. We've kind of sort of had talks about various logins.
I never remember.
I have essentially. I think I have Amazon Prime Video because I have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, but there's nothing on.
Is there anything on that?
No,
exactly. And I don't know if that's easy. Yeah, it's probably easy to download and take with you. No. But no, if it's not Netflix, I don't have it. And the only time I watch Netflix stuff is when I'm on a plane.
Fine, never mind then, Terry.
White Lotus, I'm not on board with.
I think you would like it. That's the only reason why I mentioned it. My wife and I are through now season 2. There's only 2 seasons. It's really good, and I think you would like it, which is why I suggested it.
Yeah, one of these days, probably, maybe, sort of, I'll get around to it. And yes, some people absolutely missed the joke, as I see you guys referencing in the chat. Missed the joke I made this weekend, talking about I didn't want to watch the World Cup live, so don't spoil it. I want to watch it in post-production. Someone, I think Disc Golf Fanatic or somebody, of course, then took that post, brought it to Reddit. Then part of Reddit lit me up. Seemingly, I quit reading about halfway through because I was just like, this is pointless. But Reddit then lit me up, calling me all sorts of names and blah, 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 and what everyone always does.
Nothing I haven't called you.
Exactly. And then some people got it. They're like, no, Terry was joking. And I'm like, yes, I was joking. My next post said I was joking. My next post 3 minutes later said it was all a joke. And if you couldn't read through the dripping sarcasm, yeah.
So you did not watch any World Cup?
I literally, and I'm not saying this to brag, but I literally watched 0 minutes and 0 seconds of the entire World Cup. I hear the final event game match was amazing, the greatest ever. Messier. Messier, I'm going to call Mark Messier. Messier now has the most liked post ever on Instagram, and I think that's all awesome. I truly am happy for the people that give a shit. I'm just not one of them. And I'm not ripping on anyone that cares at all. I'm just saying I don't care.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. Penalty kicks are stupid. Dumb. Deciding your
PKs?
Yeah.
I saw a lot of talk about PKs.
Deciding your biggest event on kicks that are, it feel like 80% go in. I don't know. I hate it in general. So my experience with the final World Cup match was I turned it on a couple minutes in, and it was like 1-0 Argentina. Suddenly, I walk away, do a couple things, come back, 2-0 Argentina. I was like, all right, cool. Well, Argentina's probably got this one. Go and do a bunch of stuff around the house, come back, and I don't know if I'm just dumb luck. Turn it on. Within moments, suddenly it was like, oh, France scored. It's 1-2. Like, cool. Walk away, come back. Literally, it was 1 minute and 33 seconds between the two goals, and I watched the first one. When I walked away and came back, it was 2. I literally walked into the other room.
How many times I got to tell you, with soccer, man, you can't walk away. All that action, all that scoring.
It was 2-2.
It's nonstop.
And
it's
so
just
then,
nonstop.
At that point, I was like, oh, this is interesting now. 2-2, I'll sit down and watch. I think I watched the last 6 or 7 minutes, and it was tied. And then they're like, cool, we're going to like a 15 or 30-minute playoff. And I went, fuck that. And I turned it off. And apparently it went to a playoff. They each scored, and then it went to penalty kicks. And all I keep thinking is like, you're going to decide.
Are they true penalty kicks, or are they like sudden death kicks? Like, I mean, excuse my ignorance.
That's
what I'm saying. Is it truly
it's sudden death kicks, basically.
Okay.
Whatever. And I think they're just the same as
I only asked that because calling it a penalty kick, if it's like a sudden death kick, feels stupid. But maybe they're called penalty kicks. I don't know.
I don't know either.
The board can tell me.
The board will light us up. And so I turned it off, and then I turned it on as Argentina was like celebrating. They were all hugging each other. It was after the goal. The match was over. And I see people crying and hugging, and I was like, oh, all right, cool. Argentina won. And I'm not a soccer person, but I just think that, like, I don't like deciding, and I understand soccer's tough. You don't score very often. Like, that could go a long time. But I feel like at some point, someone's going to get tired. Someone's going to make that kick.
Is that any difference than a field goal?
Does the NFL just after overtime line you up and say, all right, we're going to kick 40-yard field goals till someone wins? No, they don't.
That'd be fun.
It would be kind of different. But no, like, that's how I feel soccer is. And it's like, no, you get your ass on the pitch. You keep playing until someone kicks the ball into that thing when there's a defender in place. Because when you just have a bunch of dudes lined up and it's one against the goalie, I don't like that. I want to see someone actually score. And by see, I mean, I won't see it because I'm not watching.
Is this not the same? Again, excuse my ignorance.
And hockey kind of does this,
I was just going to say, is this not the same as a shoot-off?
It is.
In that ice hockey thing.
I think it's pretty much the same thing.
It seems like a similar concept.
It feels that way. But I just feel like you should be playing. You should be playing the game until someone kicks it in fair and square, not just start lining people up.
So these guys are not loving our ignorance.
And I'll fully
this would be like explaining baseball to someone completely ignorant to it.
100%. You're right.
How difficult is it? There's one ball and
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, again, I
just don't like their tiebreaker method.
I have lessened my overall takes on sports that I don't know or understand to like I'm happy that they're great and they're world unifying or diversifying, either way, however you look at it. Yeah. Like that's all great. I literally had in the back of my head last week during our after show, I was thinking to myself, I'm just going to ask, is the World Cup still going on? I genuinely didn't know. That answer was clearly answered shortly thereafter. Because that's just where I'm at with it, and it clearly was amazing for so many people that enjoyed it. Like there was so much excitement by so many people on Facebook, and I've learned to embrace that and think that's awesome. It's not my excitement. And that's
like if I were to write the rules of soccer, the overtime rules.
Yes,
it would go. You do like a whatever.
You've never played soccer, right?
Not
outside of gym class.
Not outside of gym class.
Okay,
like just like casually with my kid, whatever. But
okay, but
like,
never outside of gym class. And you didn't play soccer at like the middle school or grade school.
Never,
okay, I did. Go on.
No, never. After regulation, and by the way, again, still hate that they count the clock up. It's stupid. Yeah. Whatever. But aside from that, you go to overtime, and you do a full 15 or 30 minutes. All right, cool. Whoever scores. At that point, then. If both teams score, then it's sudden death. Not penalty kicks, but sudden death. First person to score wins. And at that point, then you move on. None of this penalty kick crap. None of the penalty kick crap. Yeah. Yeah. There was a local sports anchor here in town who was basically, I think it was many years ago, he kicked goals against our I call it our minor league soccer team, the Wave, which is indoor soccer. And he had said, he's like, I think I can get, 6 to 8 goals against you. And he was out of shape radio dude. And I think he got like 4 goals on him for a penalty kicks. Like, to me, that's impressive. If you get 4 on a professional goalie.
Yeah. Like that's like getting a hit off of a MLB pitcher, right?
I think the soccer thing is way easier, but because it feels to me like when I watch a goalie try to block a penalty kick style thing, it's random. Like the dude's just guessing.
Yeah, they're going right or left. You can, committing.
To me, that's you flip a coin on winning your match. Then, like you're leaving the entire thing up to a goalie who's guessing.
Was there 5 of these kicks?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I don't know. For all I know, the World Cup could have 20 of them. I don't know. I turned it on afterwards because I was busy doing other things. That's how much I got invested into the World Cup. It was cool when it was tied. When they told me there was gonna be like 30 more minutes, I tapped out. I was like, yeah, no thanks. And I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad everyone thought it was cool.
Well, good thing our podcast is international because we've just gained that many more haters for thinking we're dumb idiots because we don't love and embrace and understand.
Imagine Paul Macbeth and Aaron Gossage going through like getting to extra holes, going to a playoff, playing 3 or 4 holes, still being tied, and they're like, it's a putt off. You're going to stand at 30 feet, and whoever hits more. That's how we're going to decide who wins. That's how I feel what soccer is doing. And please, go ahead and send your hate mail to John at smashbox.tv.
Yes, please
do. So, anyway, World Cup. Congratulations, Argentina. I'm always happy to see like someone who's an icon get a championship. That's if I know their name in soccer, I feel like you have to be an icon because I know like 3 names of soccer. I know Messi,
sure,
Ronaldo, and Pele.
Yeah,
and Pele is like 100 years old now.
Yeah.
I didn't know Mbappe until I watched the French match a week or 2 ago.
I feel like that's a game at Dave & Buster's.
It might be. It might be where I have to whack something. Ooh, are you gonna play Mbappe? I think I am. So,
yeah. Tim's calling for. He hears the Goog is doing post production on World Cup coverage. That'd be awesome.
I would tune in for that.
Yeah, just get him and Germ to get in on it. You'd be all set. Sounds like a good time for sure. I'm going through any other updates. A couple of people, 1 or 2 people that we may have, depending on how their schedules work out and availability. I was given the update that Missy Gannon and Chandler Fry have just returned from an amazing trip to Uganda with the Paul Macbeth Foundation, and they have a lot of exciting things, and we're hoping to find a way to get one or both of them possibly on the show here in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get some insight to that. That's got to be, I'm just assuming, it'd have to be almost a life-changing trip to be able to go there to spread the love of disc golf and to go there to help install course and be there as part of that trip. I'm going to assume, I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I've got to assume it was pretty incredible. So we'll look to get one or both of them, depending on their schedules. We'll see if we can get them lined up here in the next couple of weeks so we can get some updates from them.
Someone's correcting me on the board. It's not Messier. He was a hockey player. It's Messi.
Okay.
So
see,
I even screwed up the name.
So
I heard of him though. So
Ray says the PDGA World should go to an extra 18 holes if it ends in a tie. I'm not gonna lie, and I know
some people really want that. Some people,
that would be pretty incredible.
I mean, there's a golf tournament. I forget which major it is.
It's the U.S. Open.
It's the U.S. Open that will go to the next day and do a full round.
Exactly. So I'm not gonna lie, that would be kind of cool, and it might not be far-fetched now. It certainly would have been far-fetched years ago, but it may not be as far-fetched. I'm not calling for it or thinking it's going to happen, but it would be kind of cool. As much as I always say, hey, get things done and blah, 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 and we're not carrying stuff over and it is what it is. The world title holds, obviously,
we almost saw
more weight than any other title.
Like that at Maple Hill. They were talking about doing 3 holes. Like, no matter what happened, 3 holes, not going to
and I think that's going to be, I will call this now. Check the tapes, mark the tapes.
Mark it.
That is going to become more common as an aggregate playoff, which, again, not going to say I will say it. I should say. I will say I don't hate that idea. I do kind of love it. I don't know why.
I like it.
I feel like it goes against a lot of my other normal instincts when it comes to rules and fairness. But for some reason, I do really like the idea of an aggregate playoff taking place. And maybe one of the arguments that could be used for it is, and it's funny because now I'd have to think about individual holes and individual courses, thinking about whether it's 18 or 1, which is usually the 2 most common starting spots, obviously, for a playoff, is if either one of them are massively advantageous to a righty or a lefty. That would be probably my largest or one of my biggest arguments for it as an aggregate playoff, is if one of those, now if they're both very lefty friendly, that might be a little weird. But you think of, an aggregate playoff, I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with, in fact, I would be in favor of a quote-unquote mandatory 3-hole or 4-hole or 5-hole, whatever that number is. It's probably going to be 3.
2 or 3, I think, should be the number.
I think it has to be more. It has to be more than 2. I think it has to be like an odd number.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, that makes no sense.
I feel like
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be anything.
No.
But
it doesn't have to be.
I
think look at the course configurations. It can make a world. It could.
I like the idea of 3.
It could vary.
It feels right. I don't know why it feels right, but it does. And that, again, personal opinion. And then after 3 holes, you then go to sudden death. If it's still tied up at 3 holes, then at that point you say, we're going to keep playing until someone wins. But you're right. It would depend on the 3 holes, because you think of our Pro Tour elite courses, and just think of DD Open. They're not going to start on 1. The long...
No.
If you're assuming you're playing at Country Club, they're going to start on the par 5.
No.
And then come back with a par 4 or whatever. 16 makes the most sense to start on. You play 16, 17, 18 for that particular configuration. But other courses may not do that. Like, what do you do at Idlewild? What do you do at Jonesboro?
Yeah, and Idlewild, specifically, you think of 1 and then 9 and how that kind of makes a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a lot of different, and then you look at USDGC, 1, 17, and 18 are the seemingly obvious loop. That's obviously what's been played in the past too, but 1, 17, and 18 being the loop there. And so, or what would be really fun, you get a couple of really, really young, solid amateurs and you bring them to the toboggan, and then you have them play 1, 17 and 18, and then they do that like 3 times
over and over and over.
Yeah,
like you had to suffer through.
for the USAM title. Yeah, that is a lot of fun as well. So you could do that. And to be fair, that was sudden death. They just went through it 7 times.
You can't blame that.
No. Pilcher says, Worlds this year shows that playoffs should be more than 1 hole. Such a massive advantage to go second when the player goes first when OB. Yeah, Ryan, as long as you copy and paste that and you put it for last year's Worlds in 2021, same concept, right? I mean,
yeah, because Macbeth went second last year, not this year, last year, right?
No, he went.
Or he went first.
He went second in 2021 and threw it out of bounds, and he went second this year. Yes,
and
correct.
threw it inbounds, yeah.
And threw it inbounds, and that was a flip of a coin that determined who went first. I don't know that. So I mean, that's gone both ways for him. Now he's gonna have to get into another playoff to see which way,
which is the better way. I'm sure if you told Paul Macbeth he was going to go to a playoff in 2023, he'd take that. It's like you have the choice of not winning or going to a playoff. He's going to take the playoff 100%.
That's some bright thinking. You can either be guaranteed not to win, or we could put you in a playoff.
Or we'll put you in a 50% chance between any person in the world. And I think I'll take it.
Yeah. I don't know that I have anything else other than another plug. We got a couple more registrations. I don't think the snowstorm's going to entice anyone. Hopefully it'll be all shoveled and gone by then. But New Year's Eve, chaining in the new year, the final flex is coming to you over in Fairfield Park in Round Lake, Illinois. I don't know where the tournament is I'm running, but it's over at Fairfield, and we'll play the Glow layout, a 1-round PDGA C-tier flex start. I think between 9 and 2 is when you can get signed up, and you can play. Of course, that's on the 31st, the final flex. So I hope to see some of you there. We got a couple more people that signed up, but would love to see more of you there. I think that's about it. I'm going to give you guys the exclusive bad news. Don't tell anyone else yet. I, for the first time in I think 5 or 6 years, well, since the inception, will have to be raising my disc in a box pricing. Literally for the first time ever. There has been just too many price increases that I can no longer absorb those, and I sound like every other email I get from manufacturers right now, but there's just seriously been too many. I've put it off and put it off and put it off. It's probably going to be, don't hold me to it, hopefully just $5 difference on a $85 box, may go to $90.
And that's not a single box.
No, that's a carton. That's 100 of them. Yeah. So it feels, it's truly negligible at that, when you break it down on a tiny level. But I will say, so with that, I'm saying if you're interested in getting some, I'm going to probably have regular pricing till the end of the year. And then I feel like just having that fresh, new, terrible start to kick off the year is going to be the plan. So I wanted to throw that out there now. I'm saying this actually for the first time. I've threatened this over 2 or 3 of the price increases and then never done it. And now I got yet another one, and we can't do it. So yeah, thanks Obama and Biden and Trump, all of them. Epstein. It was all of them.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That guy's in a box right now.
All of them.
Ray asked if I saw the end of the Patriots Raiders game. Yes, I did. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in professional sports.
Really?
Yeah. Literally.
Did they have a kickoff?
No, they should have. The Patriots handed the ball off. I believe it was a handoff. It wasn't a kickoff. It was tied game.
Oh,
time's expiring. So it runs out of time. They decide they're going to start playing
lateraling it back
and forth, and the guy goes from one side of the field, tries to throw it backwards to his teammate.
I did see this.
Barely makes it to him, ends up getting intercepted, and the Raiders run in for the win on the defense, which helped me out because I had the Raiders defense playing in the one league I won. And
way to go, Brady.
It made no difference. I was going to beat my good friend Todd Kozlinser anyway. And knock him out of the playoffs. But yeah, it was just dumb. You literally could have taken a knee and gone to overtime for a chance to win, and they pushed it and they lost. So I'm sure that Yuli got a good kick out of that, because if you're a Steelers fan, you probably hate the Patriots, just in general. That's awesome. But you know what? Nobody hates, Terry.
Free stuff.
Free stuff giveaways.
I don't know. Sounds like an entitlement program for our Smashies. Right?
It is.
It kind of is.
Entitlement. If you sign up at patreon.com/SmashboxTV,
you are freeloading son of a guns.
You are entitled to
a chance
to win something. We have 155 people eligible for our giveaway tonight, Terry. I started by first name because I was lazy tonight.
Figures.
How
what the entitled do?
How many numbers should I generate tonight, Terry?
I think let me see. Well, Yuli said that guy was rated 917, so 900.
Yuli worked a guy.
Ouch. Let's go with the third.
All right, our third number. The first number we generated is 138. The second number we generate is 90. Right in the middle. Higher or lower, Terry? It's closer
it's not
to
quite the middle, but I still think it's going to be higher. Let's go high.
All right. And the number is 131. Yes! Terry nails it.
Yes, again.
131. All right, let me pull up that 131, and it is Seifert Overas.
Seifert.
Sorry, thank you.
Overas of the Overas Disc Golf Park in Norway, also the home of the PCS Sula Open. These are my peeps.
I know they are, Terry.
These are my peeps. Seifert, I love you, man.
Seifert, I'm hoping to be able to see you maybe at PCS this year.
Hoping to Seifert you. Yes. Very cool. I will get something out to him. Also, the most gorgeous bathroom view on the planet. Just gonna say it.
At PCS or at like Seifert's house?
No, at Seifert's house.
Okay.
These, like, you look out of this bathroom. I've posted a picture of it. You look out the bathroom. There was a rainbow overlooking a fjord, overlooking hole.
Was there a unicorn too?
18, hole 18, where Barsby and Jakub Samarad had their playoff. But beyond that, you overlook a couple more holes, and then off in a distance, a fjord, along with a rainbow. Truly, the most stunning bathroom view.
So if everything goes my way this year, Seifert, I hope to use your bathroom so I too can see that view.
Yes, it is definitely incredible. So, Seifert, we hope you're well over there in Norway. I'm so blessed to have these stories and these experiences so that I can share that with you guys. It's, yes, beautiful. Double D's. I've been to your private course. Bathroom view's not as nice. I'm not going to lie. It's in yeah. But if you get a chance, you should reach out to him as well and see if you can get yourself a round of golf over at Double D's Disc Golf in Wisconsin. Yeah, he says probably not quite as nice. I'm just saying, how do you beat a fjord, really? Like with a rainbow? I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that.
You don't. It's simply it. You don't. All right, guys, let's close it down. We want to thank you guys. Holy cow, we got one more in 2022. One more episode in 2022. Of course, that's going to be next week on the 27th. As we're just flipping over into the midnight hour here. But the 27th, that'll be our last one. Man, we should come up with something special. I don't have anything, but if you are lonely and you're missing us, this Christmas, I believe Scott Stokely is putting together his third annual Christmas holiday podcast video check-in. He's got a ton of great pros lined up. Make sure that you tune into that. I think he's going to check in with a whole bunch of people. So certainly, we've got this incredible disc golf family all around the country and all around the world. So nobody should be alone. If you want to hear or listen to disc golf, Scott Stokely, or rewind any of the previous 433 episodes, we're right there, snuggled up right next.
We'll be
right
with
next to you. We're always warm and cozy. Have a great Hanukkah, Christmas, holiday, all that stuff. Of course, we'll be here before the new year, but until then, enjoy all those times with loved ones. Be safe, stay warm, do all that good stuff. Thanks to Paul for joining us on the regular show. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's Smashbox TV's podcast 434's After Show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.